Don't fall in love with me yet, we only recently met. True, I'm in love with you, but you might decide I'm not. Give me a week or two to go absolutely cuckoo. Then when you see your error, then you can flee in terror like everybody else does. I only tell you this cause I'm easy to get rid of. But not if you fall in love. And now that I'm on the make, and if you make a mistake, my heart will certainly break. I'll have to jump in a lake, and all my friends won't blame you. There's no telling what they'll do. It's only fair to tell you I'm absolutely cuckoo.
Tower Hamlets, Terry.
Oh, hello, Nick. Yes, I'm an ardent Remainer. Half of my family are Remainers, but we're all Conservative voters. I vote for Johnson, and I know loads and loads of Remainers, even if Brexit didn't exist, would still vote for Johnson, because they rather have a Conservative than a left-wing party. That's one of the reasons. What you say is right. There's loads and loads of Brexiteers what did vote, and there's loads and loads of Remainers what did vote as well. They rather have, like that saying, the devil you know than the devil you don't know. You know, I can't stand Johnson, but I'm still voting Tories just to keep away from the left wing. Simple as that.
Well, I'm interested. Terry. I'm interested in your reasoning. Really, I mean, has the Conservative Party, which has been in power for twice as long as Labour since the Second World War, has your life been improved by them?
Not really, you know.
But you'll vote for them anyway.
I'm angry with them, to put it that way. I'm very angry. They ain't going to stop me voting for them.
So they haven't improved your life, but you're going to continue voting for them anyway?
Yeah, because I don't want a left-wing government, simple as that.
Even though a left-wing government would be probably more likely to benefit those who, and forgive me for making an assumption, you are living in Tower Hamlets, those who are less well off.
Well, not really. To me, money's nothing. I don't think of it that way, money. I just vote Tories. Most of my family, well, I'll say most of them vote for Brexit.
Right,
and they still said they'd vote for Tories if Brexit didn't exist.
Right, so you will vote for the Conservative Party without thinking?
No, I do think a lot, but I'm quite happy as things are for me. I know a lot of people are quite happy, you know, but what's going on now, I'm a bit disgusted with Johnson, you know, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not keen on him to be, I'd rather have Theresa May, to be honest, even though she was useless, but all I'm saying is really, I just don't want a left-wing government, as simple as that.
Right, okay, right. I am somewhat mystified by that. I mean, Tower Hamlets is one of the poorest places in the entire country. And yet, people who are in that sort of financial situation, and I know that money isn't everything, but it's a lot, they continue to think that the party that has never shown the slightest interest in them is the best party for them. I just find it really hard to get my head around that. But I appreciate the call, Terry. Thanks for that. Teignmouth. David.
Which one?
Yeah, it sounds like you.
Teignmouth. Yeah. I'm just about to go to sleep. I've been waiting for so long.
What do you mean, which one?
The steam train. No, what I rang about, and this is about 20 minutes ago, was the direct link between low skill and low pay. Now, there was a time in my lifetime when the skill was fairly basic, but the people that were doing these jobs had the ability to repeat them and quickly and accurately and repetitively, and it was called piecework. I had an auntie that worked on the belts at Cadbury's in Birmingham, and she earned good money because she was totally reliable.
Right, like a robot.
Affirmative.
Yes.
Well, yes, it may be, but it does allow for employment for people without the high skills, because you were saying earlier that there are the people that don't have the ability to do the high skills, and what do?
Yeah.
They do what the robot is doing, but probably more accurately. They have a program
No. They can't do it more accurately than a robot.
Negative.
Oh, yes, they can.
No, they can't. Oh, no, they can't.
There was on the on the country farm program the other evening. They had competing between a robot picking strawberries and a couple of Europeans.
Well, you didn't say picking strawberries. Picking strawberries is a very it's like you have to be very careful. Human beings pick strawberries. Robots don't pick strawberries.
Yes, they are. That's what the whole point. They are making a machine that will pick them, but they still haven't got it right. No, it was on the program. I don't, Yeah,
but that's not what you said. You said she was on a factory line doing I don't know, like screwing in a widget.
I'm talking about the in the 40s and 50s, but today even there are jobs which require not high skills but reliability and repetitiveness.
Yeah, but nobody wants to do those jobs. Nobody wants to do those. No, they don't. Too boring, boring, snoring, very, very dull. Doing the same thing all day long on a factory line, screwing a widget, one turn to the left. So dull.
I realise you're in total love with your own voice, but if you listen to somebody else for a change.
Yeah.
My job, before I retired, I was head of a catering college in Plymouth, and the most important people we had working in that place were not the lecturers, but the ladies who did the cleaning, and they took huge pride in doing that job properly.
That's not a boring and repetitive task. That's cleaning. Yes. You clean this corner and then that corner and then the middle bit and up and down.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, what's that got to do with anything?
But it doesn't require high skills. It requires a basic skill.
Well, I'm not the one who's saying that we must move to a high-skill, high-wage economy and pretending that no jobs would be available for those who are low-skilled.
Yes, they are. This is what these people, the women that did the cleaning, were low-skilled.
David, I know that you're in love with the sound of your own voice, but you're not listening to what I am saying. If you just stop talking for a moment...
You had 20 minutes just gabbling onto yourself. It's absolutely because we're never going to agree who speaks the most.
Right.
You've got in love with your own voice.
Right. Please, David, tell me again how long you've been waiting.
Stop whining.
Oh my God! And I've been sitting on the phone here for 20 minutes,
whinging and whining and moaning.
I'm not the one who's saying that we must move to a high-wage, high-skilled economy, pretending that there won't be any low-skilled, low-wage jobs anymore. That's Bodger Johnson, that is. That'll be your hero, David. And nobody wants to do those boring, repetitive 1950s jobs anymore. Who wants to sit on a factory conveyor belt, just like picking out the broken biscuits? Nobody wants to do that. Just so mind-numbingly, repetitively boring. Of course there are going to be low-skilled jobs that low-skilled people will do, and they'll do it to the best of their ability. I mean, they'll take pride in your work, yeah. Be more zen. I totally get that, but that's not the glorious future that Boris Johnson is promising us. It's just another. He's just being mendacious. Liar! Exactly. Pretending that everyone's going to get a high-skilled job with an enormous amount of money piled all over them. Whereas that's just not true, because who is going to be doing all those jobs? We can't have robots doing them, because the robots can't do those jobs. They can't pick berries, for instance, because their stupid robot claws aren't gentle enough.
Affirmative.
So human beings are going to have to do that. But we Brits don't want to do that, because it's dull and it hurts and it's you don't get paid very much, and the hours are long, and what are you going to do in the winter apart from anything else? And those jobs are usually in places where people aren't, because they're at farms. If you go on a farm, then farms aren't usually in the middle of a housing estate. They're out in the middle of nowhere where people don't live. So how are you going to get people to go and do those jobs? See, all of this wonderful future that we're being promised does not exist. But people buy into it. It's amazing. I don't know how you think that it's going to come about. I mean, where's the training, apart from anything else? How are people going to be trained to go from screwing in a widget to being, I don't know, what kind of jobs he imagines that people will have? Electrical engineer. How are they going to do that? And I return to my point. Don't you think that people who could have the ability to do high-skilled jobs will be doing them already? I mean, people with vast brains and great ability aren't going to be working on factory, what do you call them? Conveyor belts. But those jobs don't really exist anymore because they're all done by robots.
Affirmative.
I just think it's just a fantasy that he's selling that can't possibly ever come to be. Not for the majority of the people in this country. Because by definition, if everybody got a high pay, then the bread would be £10 a loaf. So your high pay wouldn't make no difference. It would be like Cuba. The doctor gets paid the same as a street cleaner. Please, that bloke who keeps going on about Cuba, don't call in. I've heard your call about 1,000 times already. Noted. Is he still there? Are you still there, David?
It's 10%.
Oh my God, he's still talking. Something is 10%. I don't know what it is. We'll never know. So sad. Yeah, I wonder if that last bloke minds if I say a few words. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This text says, oh, please call him back and ask him how long he was waiting.
Stop whining.
I've been on the phone waiting for 20 minutes. Kensington, Idris.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Nick. My question, and I'm going to put it so precise, and I like the answer straightforward. This is my question. How long are we going to be in restrictions from this deadly virus before we can come back to our life and get on with it? We already spent 2 years, and now people and so-called scientists, they want us to go home and unlock ourselves.
Yeah,
or use the masks or whatever.
Right, yeah, they're suggesting that it would be a short-term temporary measure, a short, sharp shock to rid ourselves of this invisible menace, after which we will be able to access our old lives again. But
yeah,
perhaps
exactly, Mr. Nick.
It might not work.
Of course it's not going to work. They've been telling us this from the day one. From the day one, they've been telling us, oh, okay, 3 months and do the job. We've done the first job. Oh, another 3 months, the second job. We've done the second job. Oh, no, the booster. And then every 2 hours, another booster. And another. What's wrong with these people? That's it. Let us leave. Let us leave and then let us be responsible for our lives.
Okay, that's loud and clear. Thanks, Idris. Glossop, Richard.
Hey, Nick.
Richard.
You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I do listen to you every week, so I'm going to put in the usual buts.
I disagree. Right.
Okay, now this whole fishing thing surrounds the waters around the Channel Islands. Right. That's why the French are kicking off.
Yeah.
And it relates, I understand it, 17 boats that have been denied a licence by the Bailiwick of Jersey.
No, it's 55, isn't it? Hang on a minute. I have detailed files. I think it's 55. I think 16 out of 47 applications for French boats to operate in the UK's waters. 55 have been turned down to fish off Jersey.
Well, I heard the article a couple of days ago when I heard one of Jersey's ministers, the government ministers in Jersey. Yeah. Now, apparently, the ones that have been turned down... Now, I could show you where any boat in this country is within a few seconds.
Right.
With mobile phone.
Yeah.
There's a thing called AIS.
Okay.
And it shows all maritime traffic around the country, around the world. And the thing is, it's like a CCTV. It's recorded. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 ways I can prove where I've fished. One is by producing my transponder records, which go onto AIS, showing my position. And the second thing is, when I land my catch, state which fishing ground it's come from.
Right.
Problem is, these people who've been turned down, licenses, and this is the absolute truth. It's been proved by using historical AIS since 2017. Weren't supposed to be fishing in certain waters at certain times. So what they did was they just switched off the transponder. The problem's become now, just as British fishermen had to prove they were fishing, order to gain EU licences, these French fishermen have been asked to provide the records, either the documents when they land the fish, hold on, or the AIS records, which they obtain in a few days, showing the position of their boat. But because they were overfishing, they turned off the transponder.
Well, now, that's a... wait, hang on a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute. That's a bit of a stretch because they were overfishing. You don't know that.
Fishing unlawfully.
Eh?
How would you switch your transponder off?
Well, I don't know that they did, and neither do you.
Nick,
Hang on a minute. Hang on. If that thing is available, and I don't doubt it, then how would you be able to tell what happened 3 years ago?
It's recorded.
It's recorded? Where?
I believe the records are kept for 6 years. HM Coast Guard keeps them. Also, there's also the landing documents where you state... You can go down to Tesco's tomorrow and it'll tell you the landing ground that your fish came from.
Yeah, but they're French, though.
These are all records.
Yeah, but they don't land in Tesco's, do they? They land in France.
But the records are kept. They're noted down at the fish market or processing plant where they landed.
In France?
In France as well. Most EU countries record it. As far as I know, they have to record it.
Right.
By law, by EU law, it has to be recorded, because how can you calculate fishing's taking place for fishing quotas if you don't have a record?
Right, well, I don't know.
That's how you do it. You record where it's caught and when it's landed. But there's the AIS records anyway.
Right,
you can check it up.
Okay, so you're saying that the reason that they can't prove that they were fishing in those waters, you're not disputing that they were fishing in those waters, so by definition they do have the right to continue fishing because that's what we signed up for, but you're saying that the reason that they can't prove it is because they had switched off their transponder because they were potentially overfishing.
Potentially overfishing, perhaps I used the wrong term, unlawfully fishing.
Right.
Been getting a quota, but they'd switched off the transponder. As you mentioned, quite rightly, they've got to prove that they've been fishing those particular grounds for 10 days. I think it's in any 365-day period, is that right? But
you're not disputing that they did it.
Disputing they did it.
Right, so their claim is valid.
Prove they were.
There's something wrong with your phone, Richard. I don't know what kind of phone you're using. Maybe it's a satellite phone. Are you aboard ship at this moment? Are you, in fact, on a submarine? It seems to be cutting off the first word of every sentence you speak. See, there it is again. It's really weird. It's just odd. It's like it's voice activated or something. But anyway, I get that, and I'm prepared to believe that in the absence of any further information. But it doesn't. Whether they were breaking the law at some point in the past is irrelevant to the claim that they have at the moment, which is to continue to fish, which is what we signed up for. And also, if they were breaking the law, just the very idea that by extension we have not done any such thing is somewhat unbelievable. If they were doing it, I betcha we were doing it too. Stratford-upon-Avon. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
Ben.
Hello.
Ben.
Abbot.
Yes, Ben.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I've been a listener for probably must be decades now.
Wow.
Since the 1990s.
Whenever that was. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever that was. If we can remember back that far.
Just barely.
Well, obviously you can. So I enjoy your show.
Well, thanks.
And I don't know. You were talking about a few points there this evening. I don't know where to start. I've got so many things.
Start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
Yeah, start at the beginning. Yeah. Well, where do we go? I mean, let's look at the news. What news we've had? I mean, I was watching the news today, and they said something about gas prices. We've got a problem with the price of gas. I was thinking, what it seems as though we're seeing gas prices increase. Then they said that Russia is increasing production. They're supplying gas. But then I heard that
they're increasing production.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. They're actually increasing production. Yeah,
right.
They've actually increased it.
They've increased it after decreasing it. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, but they have a pipeline, don't they? It's called Nord Stream 2.
Yeah.
They want to sell gas. But the point is, when I look at this, is like, obviously, every country in the world exports products. I mean, we have an international sort of global market where, I mean, and gas is just another product that's sold around the world, isn't it?
Well, it can't.
What did you say?
It is a product. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I mean, if there was like, if you had a problem with the price of apples, I mean, if you go in the supermarket, you buy apples from South Africa, maybe Australia, New Zealand.
Mystifying. I thought we used to grow apples here, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, I think we still do, but
how come you can't buy them? Like South Africa, like you said, New Zealand. We get apples from New Zealand. You'd have to leave the planet to get further away from here.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they're coming so far away. Well, they're coming the other side of the world, aren't they?
But are you saying that why don't we just get gas from somewhere else?
Well, I mean, I think the point I'm making is that, well, I know that the US government sort of said, well, I think it's time to sanction Russia. And I was watching GB News today, and they were talking about, is Putin a threat, and this kind of thing.
Is Putin a threat?
Yeah.
Well, let's think about
Putin
that.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Well, I don't know, but I mean, the jury's out on that. It's like,
I don't think so. The jury's out and has been shot. They've been poisoned to death.
Well,
they're not coming back.
Well, who's not coming back?
The jury.
What jury?
Exactly.
Yeah, the judge as well.
Yes.
The judge and the jury.
Yeah, what jury? Rootin', tootin',
then,
shootin', Putin is going, a jury? I saw no jury. What jury? Exactly.
Yeah. And then there's the evidence. Well,
there is no evidence, yeah.
There is no evidence, yeah. But it's like, I mean, but when I was watching GB News today...
what's your point, though?
Well, the point is, like, it just seems that, well, on the one hand, products are sold, right? There's different products, whether it's gas, whether it's apples,
Yeah, we've been through there, yeah.
Yeah.
But where are you going from there?
Well, it just seems to me unfair. It seems unfair that, yeah, unreasonable.
But who's being unfair?
Well, I don't know. On GB News, they said...
Oh, my God.
First of all,
we don't need to know where you saw it. Just get to the point.
Yeah.
There isn't a point, is there?
No, there
is. You
just
wanted to say GB News a lot.
No, okay, let's forget about GB News. I won't mention it again. Now, the point is, they've said that they're bad actors. They've said whole nations, right, are bad actors.
Who?
They said China.
Russia?
No, China. The people at the media, the British media. I'm talking about the British media.
Yes.
Right. They've said that basically there's nations and they're bad actors, or they're behaving badly.
I'll give you one last chance, Ben. What's the point of your call?
Well, the decision to make...
Oh, I'm sorry. You failed this test. Atlanta, Georgia. Graham.
Oh, thanks, Nick. Hey, the correct or polite expression is where the sun doesn't shine.
Right.
With regard to someone's head.
Yes.
Now, is there any country on the planet where things are going okay? Because, you know, we got ships on the coast that can't come into port, whether it's the Chesapeake Bay, San Francisco, anywhere, New York.
That's right.
Nothing gets delivered. And then when it gets delivered, there's no truck drivers. I saw a sign at the post office looking for help. Every building of a business has a help wanted sign on it around here.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's you know, I listen to you guys every night almost, and you've got it bad, but we've got it bad. Is there a place where it's not bad?
It was bound to be.
We can't.
I bet Monaco is doing just fine.
Oh well, yeah, it's artificial. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. How about Disneyland?
We're not gonna
no
have
problems
no
in
Christmas
Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
we're not going to have Christmas trees, they're saying.
Yeah, you
no
think
Christmas tree.
Well, you think that America has got no end of fur. You ain't got no Christmas trees.
Artificial or otherwise. There's going to be no artificial trees.
Well, don't have an artificial tree. That's terrible.
It is terrible, but that's environmentally friendly, though, right?
Is it? Is it though? Is it?
Well, I don't know. There's no cedars in Lebanon, and there's no power, I guess, either. And you cut all the elms down to make the fleet, so you got no elm trees in England.
Elm?
Yeah. Those are the ribs on a ship.
Yeah, but you don't have an elm as a Christmas tree.
No, I know. It's
right.
the trees in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. What is there something in the virus that really just made everything go wonky? I mean, outside of everybody getting sick?
I guess
mentally sick.
You can't close down the world economy pretty much for any period of time and expect it to just bounce back open. And
with regard to the 30%, we got 30% over here that think our president's doing okay, and you got 30% over there that think that Boris is doing okay. So you said, what's wrong with this 30%? I say the same thing.
Well, I think
what's wrong with the 30%?
Biden's approval ratings are way above 30. I mean, they're not. I think they dipped below 50%.
Above, let's see. For independents, though, who really run the elections, it's only 30-some.
No, but you can't do that. You got to take it as a whole.
No, the independents.
Biden's lowest number is still higher than Trump's highest number.
Put down that Trump crack pipe, will you, please?
It's true. Well, you brought Biden up, and so you must compare him to whoever he was preceded by.
No, I was comparing him to Boris. They're both dismal leaders.
They're not doing the same job, but yeah, I suppose so. Okay, then.
They're not doing any job, are they?
Well, Boris isn't doing anything at the moment. No.
None of them are doing anything.
Well, Biden has a problem in America in that he has to work with the Republican Party, who have lost their minds since the Trump takeover of that party. Now they won't do anything in order to help America. They'd rather, if America was a car, they'd rather drive it into one of those trees that we were talking about than actually do the right thing if it helped anybody in that car that voted Democrat. They're insane.
I know, but I don't think there's a lot of wrong things that they don't want to vote for either. Well, if you worry about 400 migrants coming across on rubber boats, we got 203,000 in since January.
203,000. That's probably not
203,000. New border crashers in our country.
Yeah, I don't think so. They may have come to the border, but I don't think they got through the border because apparently they got people on horseback with whips down there, which is not a very good look. But anyway, Graham, I wish you all the best. Thanks a lot, mate. Chiswick. Hello, Richard.
Good morning,
Richard.
Sadiq Khan's latest tweet to you about it's a landmark day for London. It's a landmark day for his own ego. At the end of the day, driving people who are the most vulnerable away from London, which is what he's doing. He says London's open. There's a war on the motorists, and he's continuing to drive people away from London businesses. The people that live outside in the areas that are talking about, that have cars of over 10 years old, are the most vulnerable, and they're the ones that are going to be the most affected by it. Keith Prince, that was on earlier on, Keith and I went to the mayor's office, went to the deputy mayor to talk to them about businesses that are going to be affected by this, essential services, that there is no change to electric vehicles because they haven't been processed yet for. So all the buses and things that he's bought, 100 buses, 100 electric buses, when they break down, a lot of companies aren't going to be able to come into London and move them because their kit is simply too old. And when they bought that kit sort of 8 or 10 years ago for about £400,000 or £500,000, they didn't envisage we'd had a guy in charge of London that's done more damage than the Blitz to London.
Well, the flip side of that is that, by many accounts, tens of thousands of people in London die every year because of the quality of the air that we breathe. Surely we have to do something about that.
Yeah, we certainly have to do that. But the flip side to that is that in lots of other areas, or lots of vulnerable areas, he actually creates more congestion, which creates the gases that he's talking about. Low traffic neighbourhoods. Things like that. He's shoving people into corners. They are sitting in traffic for hours on end, creating more pollution. And at the end of the day, he wants to say that London's open. He invested £30 million into a scheme to attract people back to work. In effect, he's driving people away from work. If you can shop from home, work from home, eat from home, why would you come to London? Like, if you are walking, the chances are you'll get hit by one of his e-scooter schemes that are driving on the pavements and that. This hasn't been well thought out, and the timing of it goes in line with the great big international conference we'll be having on there. It's a landmark. It's a landmark for his ego, and it's not fair on millions of businesses. It's not fair on millions of vulnerable people that cannot afford these charges, cannot afford a new car. And he should take a leaf out of the book of the schemes that you talked about in other places like Coventry and other places like that have tried to actually help Londoners rather than virtue signalling that he is helping London when he's not.
OK, thanks, Richard. Let's have a call in Walsall. Hello, Mick.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I was going to say that I've got a lot of respect for these demonstrators. They obviously think they're doing the right thing. I just wish they'd go to Russia, China, India, or America to do the demonstration.
Why?
Because why pick on this small island?
Well, because we are mostly responsible for the pollution on Earth. We are this tiny little island.
England.
Well, Britain. Yeah, all right.
Well, according to the map, where
England.
it shows you the map of all the different countries and the CO2 that these countries obviously produce.
Yeah, that's now though. I mean, if you look at all the CO2 that's been produced, because it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, the ruinous pollution that has been produced since the Industrial Revolution has mostly been produced by us. It's our fault.
I thought China produced the most CO2.
Yeah, maybe now.
Well, that's what I'm on about. It's now that you want to make the break.
Yeah, but the pollution doesn't start now. It started when the Industrial Revolution started, surely.
Yeah, but if you got this country, England, obviously, basically free of carbon, wouldn't do the trees a lot of good, I suppose, because they breathe in carbon. But
the trees are going to be just fine, as long as we don't cut them down. They'll be just fine.
Yeah, but it's like I say, and you made it totally clean in this country.
Yeah, but the reason...
It's not going to make any difference. The bigger countries do the same thing. And they've said no.
Yeah, but we are exporting our pollution to other countries, Mick. You understand that, right? We have exported our pollution to other countries. Hell, we even export our waste to other countries. We're pretending that it's got nothing to do with us. It's like we take our rubbish and chuck it over the fence into the neighbour's garden and then congratulate ourselves for having dealt with our rubbish. Look, we've got no rubbish. We don't throw anything away. There is nothing left here. We've got no paper rubbish. We've got no plastics or glass or anything. But what we've done is we just chucked it next door. It still exists, Mick. We're just pretending that it doesn't. Norwich. Hello, Dave.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Dave.
Good evening, Paul. Good evening, sir. I'd like to say about 2 years ago, I went with a film crew with Janice Atkinson, who was a senior MP, or MEP, sorry, and we went from Dover to Calais and with a film crew up the French coast, right up to Holland, and filmed everything. And the French police said, yes, we've demolished all the big camps, and we made them. But there were dozens upon dozens of small camps, and we filmed them, and they were basically young African black male boys all desperately trying to get over to the UK. I should sort of. I'm not.
Well, did you ask why?
Well, I didn't ask why they were doing what they're doing, but
well, what were you filming then?
We were filming the sheer numbers that were there. I spoke to some of the police officers there. I'll give you a clue. I'm an ex-Metropolitan Police officer, and obviously policemen.
And you didn't think to ask the people who were trying to get here why they were doing that?
I spoke to the police officers what they were doing, and they just said, actually, to be honest, we're here just for appearances reason only. We're not doing anything. They were literally just standing there watching all these migrants waiting to come over to the UK. And they were in there, thousands upon thousands. And obviously a huge number have made them across the UK. But my major concern is, before I went into the Metropolitan Police, I was in the Army, and I look at it and think to myself, hang on, back in the mid-'80s, we in this country and the Metropolitan Police and we knew where the IRA were across the UK. We knew roughly where they were, etc., etc. But now these migrants coming across from wherever, Europe, wherever, into the UK, vast majorities we don't know who they are, and security services even put their hands up and say, we know that there are at least a minimum of 42,000 Islamic terrorists in this country. So we don't know who they are, where they are, and they're all.
Well, how on earth can they know the number then, if they don't know who they are and where they are, but they know precisely how many? Come off it, Dave. Harpenden. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Nick.
Brenda.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
I've got actually 3 points. Firstly, I just feel there's something much more sinister about all of this. The fact that we've had the 2 vaccines. I took a long time to seriously think that do I need to get them, don't I? So I did. But then I was told with the Pfizer, I had 98% efficacy. And that has gradually dropped and dropped and dropped to, I think it's about, 76% now. And then we're told we've got to have a booster. So whenever did we have a flu jab that every 6 months you had to have another jab? We have it once a year. So
yeah,
I
but
think
we have it once a year, surely, to get us through flu season. I mean, people don't really catch the flu in the summer.
No, but why have we got to have a booster now? And then who knows? This is what I think. In another 6 months, we could have. They say you've got to have another booster. I've heard I heard a mum ring up about her son who was at Nottingham University who had he had immunosuppressant issues. So he'd had the 2 vaccines. Now with this booster, I've rung up to decline mine. I was told, you don't ring 119, you ring your GP. And I said, well, why have you sent me a text to tell me to ring you? They didn't tell me. And I've heard more people saying they ring up and they're saying you're not eligible. It turns out the only eligible people at the moment are these immunosuppressants who've had 2 vaccines.
That's not what
and then they get.
That's not my understanding.
Well, this is what this mother rang up on Friday. So he's had the 2 vaccines. He needs this one that he's eligible for.
Yeah.
Then he'll have the booster.
Right.
And then he'll have the flu jab. 5 injections? No, thank you.
But Brenda, if you haven't had any negative consequences from the vaccine so far, what's the problem with having a booster?
I don't want a booster.
But why not?
Because I believe my immune system is strong enough, and I'm 82. I've never had a flu jab. I'm very fit. I take good vitamins. I eat well.
Yeah, but Brenda,
I do not need another booster.
Yeah, the hospitals are full of people whose lifestyles correspond exactly to what you just said.
Well, I believe. You see, I think what is so clever about this, they're saying you've got to have the vaccine to protect others.
Yeah.
When we were kids and had polio, TB, diphtheria, we weren't told you've got to have this to protect other people.
Well, no, that was because it was
to
well, of course, yeah. But the suggestion that people working in the NHS should have these vaccines is to protect the patients that they're treating.
Yeah,
it would have of course, the other effect of protecting the people who got the vaccines themselves.
But don't these people, the nurses and the social care workers, who don't want to have the vaccine, and actually, if Sajid Javid is going to mandate this, he's going to actually put the social care and the NHS on its knees. There will be no carers to look after the elderly people who will then die.
Well, only
because
if,
they won't be there there won't be any carers there.
Well, only if
they're bringing the private sector to take over. This is what they want to do.
So this is the sinister part of what you were describing.
Yeah, this is
right. Okay.
That's what I think. That's how I look at it.
Lee in Greater Manchester. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'm going to upset you now because I am an absolute Brexiteer.
How's it going for you so far?
Total disgust, disappointment, the whole, what do they call it? The whole thing, anyway. So disappointed. I'm a red wall voter, by the way. Never, ever voted Tory in my life before.
And how's that working out for you?
It's not.
Right.
So disappointed, disgusted with our Prime Minister, if that's what you call him. Not what I call him, but
what would you say to people who insist that we knew what we were voting for?
Oh, I've never ever voted yes for Europe. I've always voted no. I've voted 3 times since 1970, whatever it was, 74.
Right.
I've voted no 3 times.
But now you've got what you want. It's still not what you want.
No, and I have to say I blame the government, but I also blame the EU, because I do honestly think the EU have been so childish and pathetic about the whole thing that they didn't want us to leave. They still don't want us to leave.
Well, no, we inconvenienced them and cost them, a lot of money by upending everything that had been, bedded in for decades. But the EU being mean to us seems like a bit of a hollow argument when it's us that negotiated the deal, signed the deal. The deal was sold to the public as being a fantastic deal, and the moment that the deal was voted through, they said, "Oh, this deal? No, this is a terrible deal. Why would anybody vote for this deal? I want the name of the moron who negotiated this deal," said the person who negotiated this deal. I mean, they didn't use those words, but that seems to be the implication ever since. And I think the right-wing press and the politicians on that side of the argument will forever blame the European Union for being mean to us, because it gets them out of the hole that all of the promises that they made aren't coming true. We were lied to, essentially, about all of the aspects to Brexit. And the people that were, in retrospect, telling the truth were derided as Project Fear. That people are still saying that now. But I hope things get better for you, Chris, and that your dreams in some way come true. But I doubt it. Feltham, hello, Ian.
Hello, Nick. I was just listening to Peter, and I really wanted to phone in and speak to you about. Now, I'm no friend of Dominic Raab, especially after what happened to Harry Dunn. But this issue is a red herring. The EHRA was brought in after World War II, after the Holocaust. That's why it was brought in. The one nation in Europe that's apart from the Soviet Union was us. We didn't send people to the gas chambers. We didn't surrender. We didn't, firstly. Secondly, it's a get-out-of-jail free card for criminals. Time and time again, people have reverted to this and the lawyers are doing their job. It's their client to get out of the being deported or being put back to prison or whatever.
Well, if that is how a legal case ends, then lawyers have just followed the law, and the law is set by Parliament. I mean, It's, you hear this over and over again from, well, you read it in tabloid press, and they call them activist lawyers. I mean, there seems to be this movement against the legal profession, or really against any profession that serves as an impediment for the government doing whatever it is it likes on any given day. Dartford, hello, Damien.
Hello.
Damien.
You all right there? Is
Yes.
it Nick?
Good, thanks. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, mate. Oh, yeah, nice to spend to talk to you, Nick. You know, I was in prison here, and you kept me going for like 2 years, man.
Well, that's nice to... Well, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I would like to say that, man. It's unfortunate what happened, isn't it?
It certainly is. Thanks for the call. Islington, hey, Frank.
Hello, Nick.
Frank.
Nick.
Yes, sir.
Talk to your lady there, Maggie. I lived in Brazil in the 80s, and a lot of different companies and people, they'll sell their products on the side of the motorways. And I was thinking the farmers could sell their turkeys at motorway stopovers. I don't know what they're called because I'm not a driver. Wherever motorway service stations, they could pull in there with a big refrigerated trucks or whatever the way is to do it, and sell their turkeys there direct to the public.
Right.
If they can do it in Brazil, why not in the UK?
I guess so. If you can catch one, you can keep it.
Right. Yeah, it's dead turkeys.
Oh, we're only going to sell dead turkeys?
Yeah.
Well, that's not very nice.
I know, Nick. I won't be eating one this year. I'm pretty much a vegetarian, but...
What does that mean, pretty much a vegetarian?
Well...
What, you only eat meat?
I eat fish fingers now and again, like me fish fingers, a bit of chicken once in a blue moon.
Poor little fish. They chop their fingers off. Are you sucking a pastille?
I'm having a very late night beetroot salad.
Okay, well, if that's what turns you on. It sounded for a little while there like we were inside your mouth. A little too much macking. Thanks a lot, Frank. Excellent suggestion. Leicester. Hello, David.
Well, I was going to say that they track the boats by GPS, but the previous caller's obviously done a better job than me. I mean, he's got more information there, so...
he's got apps and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not Donald Trump. The president of America, I forgot his name.
Joe?
Joe, that's it, yeah. Even if he's got 75 cars behind him, they can't impose a ULEZ scheme on them because they'll have political immunity from parking fines.
Exactly,
So that's no good.
Diplomatic immunity. Try to put a ticket on one of those cars and you'll be met with a strong defence.
Well, they just ignore them. I've talked to some politicians from another country, and you just whip them up and throw them away.
Yeah.
And the Scottish man before the news bragging about Scottish highlights and how great Scotland is. I don't know whether it was your show, but it was one show, and they were saying that the Shetland Islands want to remain part of the United Kingdom. So most of the oil fields that Scotland says are theirs are off the Shetland Islands. Isn't that correct?
The Shetland Islands. That's like 3 people and a sheep.
Yeah, but they want to stay part of the UK. So Scotland can be independent. They can have the euro. The Shetland Islands can continue with the pound and their huge oil fields. It'll be wonderful for them.
No, but we don't want no oil no more, remember?
We'll still have oil. We'll need it.
David, are you using the same phone as the previous guy? Because everything that you say is being cut off as well. I get the middle part of the sentence, just not the beginning and the end, which makes it somewhat difficult to understand. Mobile phones, they are great, no?
No.
Not actually usable as a phone. Never mind. Monmouth, hello, Anne.
Hello there, hi. Hi. That's very facetious of you to say perfumed Nirvana. Quite frankly, I don't think anybody expected it to change overnight.
Overnight?
Well, that's just that's just putting a fine term on it. Nobody expected it to happen for a long time. I certainly didn't.
Well, who said that? I mean, when it was sold to us, who said that we'd have to wait for years? No one.
Well, did anyone think it was... That's what I just said. Did anyone think it was going to change instantly? How could it?
Well, what's instant? I mean, it's almost... it's going to be almost 2 years. It's like over 5 years since the referendum.
Yeah, but we've had 2 years of a pandemic, haven't we? So it's bound to have thrown
so has everywhere else.
Well, they're not improving much either, are they?
They're doing better than we are. America is doing better than we are. The European Union is doing better than we are.
Let's not follow America. Again, like you just said, not changing the subject totally, but the entourage in Rome, that wouldn't make any difference to Italians because, I mean, they're if they've got 5 kids in the family, they have 5 cars in the drive. So, all this blurb about, climate change. I've been a vegan for 40 years. I don't drive a car. I've got a license. I choose not to. I don't fly all over the world.
Okay, well, like you said, let's not change the subject.
Let's not change the subject. No, let's stick to Brexit.
Yeah.
I love Boris Johnson. My family have always been conservative. I don't lead a conservative lifestyle, but I do think he's wonderful. To be honest with you.
In what way? You think he's
because
wonderful? How?
Everyone's
funny.
No, he doesn't have to be a comedian. No,
you think
who he is.
He's
a good prime minister. Yeah,
and everyone keeps saying. You think he's truthful?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Despite all of the evidence to the contrary.
Which evidence? He's not a liar. He's not a liar. He's doing the best he can.
Oh my God! I don't believe you said it. I'm going to actually pull my hair out from parts of my anatomy that are really going to hurt if one more person says he's doing his best. He's not a child. People talk about him as though he is a 4-year-old that's been asked to clean up their room. And they make more of a mess in cleaning it up, but the parents look at each other and say, "Oh, he's doing his best." Like you just ask the dog to make you breakfast, and the dog forgets to warm the teapot. He's doing his best. For crying out loud, Anne, I can't stand it anymore. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show, so I don't have to. York. Hello, Ray.
Evening, Nick. How are you doing? All right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good. I heard you mention earlier about the comedian you saw, and you was impressed about how long he went by, and not forgetting his lines or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty easy if you've made it up yourself, and you do a bit of rehearsing, which you only have to do a minimal amount if you made it up yourself. It's a double because I do it myself.
In what capacity do you do it yourself?
In what capacity?
Yeah. What do you do?
I'm about to do it myself, I should say, but I know I can do over an hour with the amount of material I've got, and I'll just find it a double because I've learned it myself, because I've thought of it myself. I think if you think of it yourself rather than rehearsing someone else's material, it's a different thing.
I sort of get it, but not really. Not remembering an hour and a...
That's how I find it so easy. I'll be doing over an hour.
Ray, but you just told me you haven't done it yet.
No, but I know how much material I've got and how long it's going to take to get through, and it'll be over an hour, and I won't fluff my lines. I know that.
Well, you don't know that.
I do know that because I've tried open mics at musical open mics at various places.
Right, so you have done it.
No, I've tried various excerpts from it. I haven't tried my proper routine now. I've just tried little excerpts out in front of people that go in for music, so it doesn't work.
So how does it start then?
Oh, no, not on national radio, not a starter, I'm sorry. No.
You can't use your precious material up on this show. I understand. All right, appreciate it, Ray. Concert, Sean.
Nick, I want you to get my head round it. Like I'm going to lolly, mate.
Mm-hmm.
What is the environment got to do with meat?
What's the environment?
Why are they going to put a tax on meat for the environment?
I have a theory about that.
Isn't it the rockets and the millionaires that's going up in space to see the clangers?
Well, that doesn't help. And once they get there, they wouldn't understand a word that the clangers are saying anyway. Why are they bothering?
Soup dragon. But I just kind of get my head wrong. Get these vegetarians on the phone and tell us what's eating meat got to do with the planet. Like.
Right, I will do that straight away. Thanks a lot, Sean.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, get some vegetarians on the phone right now. I mean it. Hayes. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Nick. I've been listening to the thing for the last half an hour or so. I'd just like to draw a comparison between, for instance, if you and don't get me wrong, I've got some sympathy for saying, well, please get these people working and give them something. But apart from that, I'm talking about the principle behind all this, and not a principle behind maybe a solution, is that if you fly to America without a visa, when you get there, they effectively turn you back and said you can't come in.
Yeah.
And they introduced relatively recently the ESTA form, where you have to get prior authorization that you can enter the USA before you get there. And if you get there without one, then the airlines are fined and for taking you without the ESTA.
But no one's arriving by plane.
Hold on. I'm talking about the principle here, Nick, rather than kind of micro comparisons or differences. So it is capable for a state to say, you're not coming in, you'll go back to where you came from.
Yes, if they arrive in an orderly fashion at an airport.
All right, Nick, I'm just trying to draw a comparison here. So that a state returning someone back, yes, you've got a big airline which are fined heavily, and therefore they are incentivized not to do that. In this situation with the migrants in the Channel, you've obviously got criminal gangs who are doing this, and they are the people who nominally are the airlines, and you would try and find them or catch them and stop them doing what they're doing.
Yeah, well, we are doing that, aren't we?
No, hold on. So if, in terms of the airlines, they are taking a look at the ESTA before you depart and making sure you have the right to get into the country you're going to. So if you draw that comparison, which is in France, the French should be checking the people who are coming over, whether they're legal or they're illegal.
Steve, I don't think you actually understand what it is you're talking about. People aren't queuing and going through customs to get on small boats to cross the English Channel. It's not that orderly. What are you talking about?
I'm not saying... there's no need to be facetious, so I'm trying to make a point.
But your point is ludicrous. I mean, you can call me facetious if you like, but pointing out how ludicrous your argument is well, if it's facetious, then I'm guilty. Here's Lewisham. Hello, Jane.
Hello, Nick.
Jane.
Brexit is brilliant.
Is it?
It is.
In what way?
Every way.
In which particular way?
Could it be?
In which particular way is Brexit brilliant?
Listen.
Give me one positive thing that has come from Brexit. One single positive thing that's come from Brexit. Name one thing. One single thing. I'll make it really easy for you, Wendy, or Jane, whatever your name is. Can I call you Wendy?
No, you can't.
Very uncooperative.
We can promote our culture. And our sport around the world.
What culture?
And improve the whole globe.
What culture? Could we only improve now that we're out of the EU, but we couldn't promote when we were in there?
That's it. But anyway, could it be that Boris is really a
part of
Remainer
British
and
culture?
He's doing all this on purpose? Thought about that?
No.
Anyway, Christmas.
I think he is. I think he is a Remainer. He's just a political chancer, and he just went with where the tide was going, and decided to. The crowd was all charging in one direction, and he ran in front of the crowd and shouted, "Follow me." I think that's where we're at.
But he really, really is a Remainer, so that's why he's making it tough for her. But we are tough. We are having cheese sandwiches on Dover Beach, right, at Christmas.
Well, don't make sure where you sit, because Priti Patel will be on the lookout for anybody who doesn't look right.
Speak to you later, Nick.
All right, thanks a lot. Cheers, my dear. Thanks, Wendy. or Jane, if that is in fact your name. Cheese sandwiches on Dover Beach. Yeah, and watch the misery unfold in front of your very eyes. We'll be pushing them back out to sea and let them drown. Because that's what Jesus wants. I bet it's pretty bracing on the coast there at Christmas. In fact, if I was living anywhere near the coast, I think I'd give it a go. I mean, it's not just Australians that can go to the beach at Christmas, you know. We Brits are a hardy type. We can eat cheese sandwiches on the beach at Christmas, just like Australians can. We'll just need to wear a hat, coat, scarf and gloves, that's all. I'll see you at the shore. Don't be late. It's a date. Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Tydfil. Hello, James.
Yeah, hiya, Nick.
James.
Well, I was just going to pull you up on something else, but I thought you'd pull you up on that. So Russia and America saved the United Kingdom in the Second World War, did they?
I believe they won the Second World War.
So we had no effect in North Africa and Italy, and the largest amount of troops going across on D-Day were British soldiers, but we had nothing in it.
Well, James, that's a bit of a stretch from America,
No, it's a fact, Nick.
and it's a bit of a stretch from me saying America and Russia won the war to we had no effect in it. That's
no, they didn't win the war for us, Nick.
Yes, they did.
We were a
they
joint
won the
partner in
war.
it.
America and Russia won the
didn't.
war, James.
Where did they win it then? Well, you be specific, Nick. What battles did they win that we weren't part of?
James, I'm not a history buff, but I do know
No,
that,
I know
that
because
Russia and the weather defeated Hitler.
Nick.
What?
The Tories are living in your head rent-free. When are you going to start asking for some rent, Nick?
Is this you trying to be funny now?
No, I'm being serious. You're an absolute...
Okay. Is this him being serious? Another exercised lever. Why is it that the most furious callers are all leavers, are all Tory supporters? They're Tory supporting leavers. Now, they won the Leave vote and they've got a Tory government. You'd think they'd be happy, but they're not. They're all still furious, like apoplectic, but in a boiling rage continuously. It's odd, isn't it? I mean, I've taken, well, I don't know, half a dozen calls so far on this show from people who I would assume have lost both of those votes. They got taken out of the European Union against their wishes, and they are suffering under a Conservative government, again, against their wishes, as are the majority of the people in this country who voted for another party. And yet, people like him, who think they've won something, are absolutely furious. They're beside themselves. That's the part of this that I just don't get. I mean, I could get if they came on and said, no, you know, because that's the sort of level that we're at now. That you lost, get over it. You know, you hear that a lot. But it's just the boiling anger that's still there. I mean, how much more winning do you need? You've got the government you wanted. You've got out of the European Union. You've got everything you ever dreamed of. Why still so angry? I mean, what's the matter with you? It is a mystery. I can sort of make a case for everything else that's happened. You know, a government that doesn't mind about pretty much anything other than clinging on to power and making money, and, you know, that's just human nature. I mean, actually doing a job to help others is sort of bizarre behaviour. Human nature is acting for your own personal interests in this moment, and you know that's what we've got. So it's no big surprise. It would kind of be a surprise if it was the other way around. But for them to still be so angry, it really is. It just it defies understanding. Like, I just don't get it. And you ask them, well, you know, why are you so angry? And they'll say, oh, it's because people like me keep pointing out facts. You know, like Brexit's not going very well. like we were lied to about, pretty much everything about Brexit. Clothes were going to be cheaper. Food was going to be cheaper. We're going to get £350 million a week for the NHS. We're going to be fewer foreigners. And wages were going to rise. And all of these jobs that they did before we kicked them out, we grateful British persons would leap in to do them for us, keep the country going patriotically. But none of that's true. 0% of what we were told has actually come to pass. You'd think they'd be angry about that, but no. They're angry about people pointing out those facts. I just don't get it. I really don't. Sociologists will be working on this from now until the end of time, trying to unpick these furiously flung around thoughts. Maybe it is just that they realise there's a certain realisation that they've been had. I mean, you can't really get to this point now and still believe that Brexit's the best thing for this country. That the Conservative government is, the best thing for this country in this moment of great peril. Because of all of the evidence that's piled up. I mean, you'd have to be deaf and blind not to realise that in a certain sense you've been had. All of the things that they told you were going to happen haven't. In fact, the opposite's happened. But they're not angry at the people that told that to them, that lied to them, that got their votes under false pretenses. They're not angry with them at all. They support them even more. They dug their heels in all the more. What they're really angry about is people who are just pointing out facts. That we're losing about, I don't know, what is it? Instead of £350 million a week for the NHS, we're actually losing as a country about £800 million a week so far with Brexit. Just pouring out of the country. Just ask a business that used to sell to Europe how they're doing. Ask the fishermen how they're doing. The most patriotic business of all. Actually flying the flag off the back of their boats. Picking British fish out of British waters. And they were going to have more fish. And they were going to be happier fish. Because they were going to be British fish. Oh my God, that bloke. And the farmers being upended by whatever deal that we make with New Zealand. Of course, not inked yet. Even though they've told us that it's all sealed and delivered. It isn't. But never mind. Those are just facts as well. It is genuinely puzzling why they're so furiously, fist-clenchingly, spittle-flecked, eyes-bulgingly furious. Explain it to me, I double dare you. Other than there is a realisation they've been had, and to admit it is too much loss of face. Is that really it? Because if that is it, God, that's pathetic. I mean, I'm sorry, but for a grown-up, that's really sad. But I wish that bloke would call back, because, I'd like to chat some more. Sussex, hello, Tom.
Hello.
Tom.
Yes.
You sound surprised, Tom. You called me.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when you were going to come through. First time caller, so.
Ah, welcome along.
Hello. I was just calling. I've only tuned in briefly, but I heard you talking about all the climate stuff that's been going on, and I think the problem we're having, outside of the obvious of what is happening with the climate, how things are changing, is the way that we're talking about it. And there's two parts in my mind that I think that are issues. The first being the way that it's done in such an alarmist way. I don't think is good for anybody, particularly young people and growing up from a mental health standpoint.
Oh, do me a favour. Well, we're going to have to. What, you want soft music playing in the background when we're talking about it? You want us to write it?
I think it.
Put it on a balloon, maybe a party balloon.
No, I think the way that it is discussed should be done more pragmatically and not in quite such an alarming tone.
You know what? You know where pragmatism gets you? Nowhere.
Well, if we don't have it, then we won't get anywhere.
Well, we haven't got anywhere. I mean, who is being alarmist in governments? There isn't anybody.
I'm not saying that the rhetoric doesn't have some value. What I'm saying is that the way it should be discussed should be being turned into a way where, rather than saying not enough is being done, this government's terrible, this government's awful, left, right, whatever side of the hall they fall on, discussion should be had by going, right, look, this is the kind of money that we need to be talking about, because I don't think I've ever heard that in any discussion. All I keep hearing is more needs to be spent, more needs to be done, but nobody actually says what it is.
Yeah, but you're not privy to the discussions that government ministers have with their opposite numbers in other countries. They're not yelling across the table saying, "Oh my God, we're all doomed." They're talking in exactly those terms, or rather, they're presumably trying to find ways of making the nothing that they do sound better.
But that's the same in every political issue. It's trying to make it sound better. But rather than saying it's terrible, we're all going to die, all of the stuff that you talked about recently, which are projections, sure, many of them are very possible. We don't know about all of them. They're all projections, obviously, and hopefully they're not going to go in the direction that we're talking about, because things will change or they won't be as bad as we think or whatever. But I think we need to look at things and try and talk on it in a more cost-benefit type analysis thing.
But who is it that you are talking about should be discussing in those terms? You mean the general public? You're talking about Greta Thunberg? Me? Who?
No, I think that what is being put out there should be...
By whom?
More... The actual figures and everything like that, I think, should be being discussed by the people that are making these decisions, industry, whoever the boards are that are providing the science, forgotten their names now, the IOPC and all of that stuff, the people that are providing the science and the things to say, look, this is what we need to do, but also working and looking at it from an economical standpoint, going, look, where's the best way that we can put our money into this to incentivize people to create things that are going to speed this up.
Yeah, I'm unclear as to what it is you're saying. You seem to be blaming the government, this government's and other governments around the world's inactivity on the people that are bringing the problem to their attention. It's their fault.
No, I'm saying that the discussion should be being made more visible to us via, I don't know, the media, Greta, whatever, rather than just the media and Greta and stuff saying it's all terrible, not enough is being done. Well, perhaps if we say, look, this is what needs to be done. Okay, rather than just saying we need to switch to renewables and that's it, which let's say is a pretty obvious statement based on everything that we seem to be knowing.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that's it. That's not the arguments that I'm hearing. They say we must switch to renewables and that's it. There's an entire list of things, a menu of potential options.
Well, yes, if we're talking about the diet stuff, I'm just using that as an example. I know there's more than that to the whole picture to change things. I'm just saying that in terms of an energy standpoint, is a big thing.
Okay, but we seem to be getting off the... You seem to have started by, and this was one of your two thoughts, by blaming the lack of action and results on people, I don't know, shouting too loudly, being depressing.
No, I think the focus is being put more on that than what it should be being put on, which is having the discussion about how are we going to do this, not this is what's going to happen if we don't.
Yeah, but that's what governments do. That's why we hire the smart people. Well, I'll take that back. That's why we hire people who are supposed to be smart to make those decisions. We, as a people, make our feelings known to them. We tell them the direction in which we would like to go, and then it's up to them to make it happen. They surely aren't waiting to hear from Greta or me or whoever it is that you're talking about to tell them what policies they should be enacting in order to achieve the results that are required. That's their job. Anyway, Tom, it was slightly confusing, but it was a first effort. Leicester. Hello, Tony.
Hello.
Tony.
Nick, I'm just wondering, do you remember the chopper bike?
Yes, I had one. Orange. 3 gears.
Mine was red. But, no, sorry, mine was the chipper.
Chipper?
The chipper bike, the one below where you got the 3 gears in the middle.
Yeah, that's a chopper.
Yeah, and then for the younger kids, you got the chipper.
Oh.
Right, and do you remember the power thing?
Power thing?
Which was on the front of the wheel, which was called a dynamo. Is it dynamo?
Dymo. For the light. For the light.
Yeah. And you turn the lights up.
Right.
And they used to flash, and then you put your pack of cards with pegs on the
Oh, yeah,
back
most
to make
certainly
it-
did. Yes, made a tremendous noise. Yes.
Yeah. Lovely. Why can't the government or the world do something similar to that?
What?
A dynamo.
A dynamo.
Right, so
Yeah.
you-
Dymo.
Yeah. It's free electric.
Mm-hmm.
If
But I think it runs
It's
off
good.
your wheel going round. It won't make your wheel go round. Your wheel has to go round in order to make it work.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
health. If you're pedaling
Right.
and making electricity,
Mm-hmm.
why can't they do this? Oh, I don't know what you call it now, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever. So everybody who pedals
Mm-hmm.
goes to a Wi-Fi thing
Yeah.
and generate electricity.
Oh my God, you're a genius, Tony. Finally, we have a solution.
Yeah.
Keep thinking. It's what you do best. Excellent work. Thanks a lot, Tony. Westminster. Hello, Adam.
Sir, good evening.
Adam.
I'm really, let's just put it this way. I've never seen so much grief on a government. In fact, it's difficult to differentiate between a Conservative government and a greasy mechanic's hand in a greasy garage. What the hell is going on? We sit by idly and let these basically dictators tell everybody else that the rules don't apply to everyone apart from the Conservative Party. Now listen, we need to shake up, quite frankly, Nick, and the only person to do it is Greta Thunberg, because that lady has got so much gas coming out of her gob, she would be able to power enough hot air balloons to get this Conservative government infected and hopefully blown over to France. Do it, lad.
All right. Okay. Another listener with material. Thanks a lot, mate. I believe that we knew what we were voting for.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah. We knew who he was before we let him in. Bromley. Hello, Luke.
Hi, Nick. Hi again.
Luke.
I don't want to sound too cavalier about this, but I do believe that we need to put things in context. They're talking about up to 1,000 hospitalisations a day will be a marker that we need to really be careful of avoiding. But I don't think so, because with over 1,000 A&Es in the UK, that's less than one per hospital. I don't think that's what I call overridden NHS.
Yet people within the NHS, in some areas at least, are saying that they're already having to cancel operations, that they're running out of beds.
That's ridiculous. That's called bad planning, in my opinion. The NHS is designed to be maxed out and heavily flowing at winter time, and in the summertime they do outpatient appointments and things. What we're facing here is 1,000. Did you know that there's between 60 to 100,000 people that go into an A&E every day? So what? It's 1,000 more. That's 1%.
Yeah, but as you say, hospitals do run, and it's by design. It's the efficient way of running a hospital at 99% of capacity.
Yes, they are. Exactly.
Yes, but if that is the number that they ordinarily get, then another wave of COVID patients is going to tip them over the edge.
Well, no, 1% will turn to 100, won't it? Look, if they said there's going to be 30,000 a day more, maybe I could start thinking, okay, that's a high figure. 1,000 people a day, that's not according to the figures that they see every day.
However, just to play devil's advocate, what medical people are saying is that if it's at that level today, then it will, start to multiply every day in every way. It will get worse and worse. So that's why they're calling for some more stringent measures now in order to prevent that in the future. It's just that would that actually have a positive result, because everything that we have tried has not stamped this thing out, and some people are saying that, well, it's just going to be one of those things that we've got to live with.
Lots of what ifs, and we've lived by what ifs for the last year. Unfortunately for them, we do have stats and statistics now and data from the last year that we can work with to plan and prepare. So to me, if we do rise by 1,000, well, that's not a huge amount at all. It's less than one per A&E in the UK. That's not a problem. I mean, look, the average person stays in A&E for 4 hours, so an extra... It's obvious. I think surely it's obvious what I'm saying here.
OK, thanks, Luke. Brentwood. David.
Yeah, good evening, Nick. Just wanted to, well, not correct you, because I would never deem to correct you, but I would just wanted to pass comment on you saying that we outsourced our production to China. I mean, I think that's a bit too cute, isn't it? I mean, the fact is that China is moved from a command economy to a sort of semi-capitalist economy, and they have far cheaper labour. They don't have any labour rights. We were always, they were always going to be the cheapest produced, but even now they're finding that, they're like competing with the lowest common denominator in Vietnam or wherever, and the next stop is Africa, isn't it?
Well, you know who could stop that?
Who?
The consumer. If the consumer was to actually be ethical in their purchases, in their purchase decisions, then all of that would stop. We could stop it. We could stop it next week.
That sounds very fine and dandy, doesn't it? But I mean, what power does the British consumer actually have?
Total and complete.
Well, okay, but I mean, in the real world, let's go back to the real world.
Well, David, you're blaming China for making stuff cheaply.
No,
what I'm saying is that it's actually our fault for buying their cheap stuff, regardless of the consequences to human health for over there and over here.
So what are you saying? That we shouldn't have a consumer economy? We should all go back to ground zero?
No, what I'm saying is if the consumer made more ethical decisions based on how polluting an item is, the conditions in which the workers toiled, the effect on the economy and the environment of whatever it is that we buy, how much we buy, how disposable the things are that we buy. If we just thought for a second about all of that, then we might have still some industry left in this country that like clothes.
We do have a regeneration of industry, but it's sort of cottage industry and sort of high expensive textiles and things like that. We do have that now. But the mass produced...
Well, you're talking about the tartans that they make in the Isles of Scotland.
There are lots of other cottage industries that are still surviving in British...
that makes no difference whatsoever. We're not talking about cottage industries, we're talking about mass market.
Really? I mean, we all know what sort of stores we're talking about. I won't no names, no factory, but I mean, don't buy clothes. I buy clothes to last. I don't buy...
Well, that's just you, David. You and you alone. Everybody else wants a pack of 3 T-shirts for £5, and they don't care how many people suffered in the making of those shirts.
I'm afraid this is the problem, isn't it? That nobody does care because...
They just want price.
They don't have any influence over it.
They just want cheap. They do. We have absolute influence over it. The consumer is the fault. It's all our fault. Everything. Because of the choices that we make in the stores.
One final point, and I just think the whole COP26 is a waste of time because whatever we do, we know that China and India are the main...
Oh, please, David, don't start with the whatabouts. What about China? What about India? What about Russia? What about America? What about this, that, and the other? We can make an effort to change things ourselves. If the entire human race was gripped by whataboutism, then we would still be living in caves and using flints to chop up wildebeest. But good effort. Thanks a lot, David. Let's have Edgware. Hello, Dave.
Hi there, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So I want to bring about this scandal about Boris. I want to speak about it from a different angle. I'd like to bring out that I'm not disagreeing with anything you've been saying, any of the allegations against Boris and his government. However, I think all Boris is as a prime minister, he's probably the less of the two evils.
Compared to
Keir Starmer, who doesn't really have any leadership qualities or any policies or anything like that. So although Boris Johnson's getting away with everything that he's doing, he might have loads of corrupt things, but there's no opposition against him. So
he's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, there's corruption and stuff like that, but he's definitely doing a better job than Keir Starmer would do. Doesn't have anything to offer the country at all.
Right. So it's a what about argument. Let's not concentrate on what Boris Johnson is accused of. What about Keir Starmer? Okay. Birmingham. Hello, Jin.
Hi, Nick. You won't like what I've got to say, so you might cut me off. But I think your narrative is interesting. What Boris Johnson said when he said it's not my problem was specific to some of the industry problems, not the 15 list that you just rattled off. Some of what you rattled off is at a macro level. The chip shortage is at a macro level. When you look at here in the UK, some of what you've described, look, as a local, I just don't recognise it. I don't recognise any shortage at the petrol stations, and I'm in the Midlands.
Believe me. Hang on a minute. There may not be a shortage in Birmingham, but believe me, there's a shortage in London. Trust me.
Might be. No, if you're in London and you're seeing that, that's your reality. My reality is different. There's not a shortage on the shelves. There's not a shortage in the petrol stations. So your disbelief as to why are people not giving Boris Johnson more harder time, because we're not all seeing your reality that you're seeing in a certain area.
Right. So what you're describing is what you're describing is I'm all right, Jack.
No, I'm describing my reality. You're describing your reality.
No, I'm not describing my reality. I'm describing the reality as has been reported in the newspapers and has been experienced by people up and down the land. I mean, you may not have noticed empty shelves, but they do exist, and a lot of people have noticed them to the point that we're now panic buying toilet rolls again.
You just said.
Jen, I want to hear what you have to say, but your mobile phone connection is really bad. Can you lean out the window or go to higher ground?
How's that?
That's much better.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to quote what you said. You said, believe me, in London it is. Yeah. Now, I'm taking that as your reality. What I'm saying to you is everyone in the country will have their own reality. And if they don't recognise what you're saying, we will connect with it.
But you get the news from from central sources that tell you what's happening elsewhere. I mean, do you really react to the country dependent on what you see in front of your eyes or what has been reported?
It's a bit of both. So let me give you an example. Okay, this fuel shortage. Okay, there was never actually a fuel shortage. There was fuel hysteria, which increased the demand, which created a shortage in the Midlands. That lasted about 3-4 days. You just said
there was no shortage, but the hysteria, as you describe it, I wouldn't describe it as hysteria. I would describe it as a perfectly rational response to driving past 10 petrol stations, all of which are closed.
No, step back. No, step back. Once you hear news that something is shorted, what's the human behaviour you're going to do? Go and buy it before we run out. That's called hysteria.
No, it's not. Jen, that is absolutely not hysteria. That is a perfectly rational response to a situation that you have experienced.
Yeah, but it's driven by this fear that there's a shortage.
Of course. Yeah, that's not... No, I'm not going to let you say that it's hysteria. People queuing up when they see that they're about to run out of petrol and they need their cars for their business, for their social life, whatever it might be, in the following week. and they find that they can't get petrol, it's not an hysterical reaction. It was a perfectly patient, if anything, it was an extremely patient reaction. People sitting in queues for hours. They weren't hysterical. That's not the truth at all. You're completely misrepresenting what is happening in the country just based on A, what you can see with your own eyes, and B, your characterization of other people elsewhere, what they are doing, which is incorrect. I mean, the newspapers may have been printing stories about a couple of people who got into a fight at a petrol station, but that's not because, on Friday and Saturday night up and down the land, even in Birmingham, I bet, Gin, people get into fights about, absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous things. I wouldn't call that hysteria either. That's just human behaviour. But anyway, I appreciate the call. Thanks, Gin. Forest Gate. Hello, Abdul.
Yeah, how you doing, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Big fan of your show. I've always liked the dynamic of the way your questioning goes.
Thanks,
Just to put that out there. What I have to say about regarding what Sajid Javid said was, it's just some. In fact, let me go back to what one of your callers said about how another caller should pin his ear back, and say how it will take as long as it takes. People in this country are sick of COVID. Even though it's a killer, I'm not saying that it's gone, and people want to move on with their life. And the fact that the government now wants to make legislation to say people should mandatory take COVID vaccine is unbelievable. It's just, to me, it says a lot for a man to stand by his moral and say, this is what he wants to do, this is not what he wants to do. From time, his hand is getting forced, even though he doesn't want to do it. It's almost like propaganda. It's like nowadays in the media, what we get is right-wing, left-wing, all type of media telling us that, demonizing everyone, that people that don't want to. How many times has the expert comes on LBC and say, this is why COVID vaccine is not good? Why is that? We have to ask some of this question. Because, look, listen, I'm not against COVID vaccine. My mum's got COVID vaccine, my dad's got COVID vaccine. Anyone can take whatever they want. But if someone has a personal choice to say, I know the science, but I still do not want to take it, there shouldn't be force. First of all, the government started this with, okay, if you haven't been vaccinated, you can't travel. This either started earlier in the year or last year. They made it so hard for people to move around without COVID vaccine. Now, travel is sort of well down a bit, and things are a bit slow. That things has gone sort of in the right direction. Now they're trying to say, when will this stop? Okay, we're going to start with NHS staff. Are we going to go into other people that work in a coffee shop, people that work in the gym?
That is the direction. Yeah, if this happens, if all NHS staff, as it's been suggested, will be forced to take the vaccine, then the next logical step is other industries in which they have close contact with the general public, and that would be, pretty much everything, really. Bars, restaurants, shops, you name it.
Can I just ask you a question? Is that because the number of people taking COVID tests has gone down, or is it because the infection is rising to a level where they feel they need to suppress it a bit more?
I'm sorry, I didn't really understand the question.
I said the question, is that because are they trying to make more people take the test because the number of people that's taking up the vaccine has gone lower, or is it because the infection rate has gone higher?
Well, the infection rate is apparently going up, as is the admissions into hospital. The death rate is about 120 a day, which, if people were dying en masse every day at the rate of 120 by any other means, then it would be top of the news, and the government would probably be sending out the army to do something about it. But I do agree with your initial assertion that there is a sense in the air that people are over this. We're bored with this now, and we don't want to really engage with it anymore. How about this as a potential way out of this, for us not to have to engage with it anymore? That everybody has to take the vaccine, and then once that has been enacted, then perhaps we can put it all behind us.
But then that's not the world we're living in. That's not the democratic world, because everyone has a choice. We all have rights and choices. From time the government's taking away your choice. Look, me and you are two different, Nick. You might want to take the vaccine. I might. Not to say I haven't taken. I'm just giving an example. I might not want to take the vaccine, but that's my choice. I chose not to do it. That's the fun part of living in a Western world. I chose not to do it. That's it. There's no if or buts or maybe or please or try to force me into it. That's just my choice. I'm not taking it. It is what it is.
Right, but on the other hand, it's a public health measure, and I think Gene Simmons out of KISS was describing the sort of another example of a measure to protect the public's health, and that is the red stop sign. The traffic lights. When it goes red, you stop. Now, the only thing that's making you stop is a colour, and the fear of the consequences of not doing that. You are essentially not stopping to protect other people that will be coming in the opposite direction. So it's, we make these sacrifices, if you like, every day of the year. This is just another one. So if there are actually no consequences to taking the vaccine, it doesn't seem unreasonable to ask people that would, by definition, be coming into close contact with people who are vulnerable, who are already ill, to take whatever measures they can in order to protect them.
Your call is important to us.
Yes, Paul, in Selby, your call is important to us. Go ahead.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Paul.
I would like a drop of that wine that's gone missing, actually.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it just? Because I'll tell you what, I would drink it.
But I bet it tastes absolutely horrible. I mean, it's over 200 years old. How could wine last that long? Doesn't seem feasible,
Well,
does it?
No, it doesn't really. It just makes you wonder how stupid it is, which is why I'd open it. If it tasted all right, I'd drink it.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if it did taste all right, what else are you going to do with it? Just look at it.
Well, exactly. But anyway, the reason I phoned it was about our Scottish cousins. And this incessant, nonsense from them. Well, I live in the deepest north now and spent half my life in London. And in London, coming up to Christmas, the hour going back at this time of the year was almost devastating down there. It was for me. It just was the beginning of the winter, and it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it makes you want to curl up into a ball and not come out for 6 months, doesn't it?
Well, that was it. And I was working out the motorbikes in London, and it was like all of a sudden it got dark, cold and wet and Christmas, so didn't like that. But anyway, now I live in deepest North Yorkshire, where I originally hailed from. And today, it went dark at 5 o'clock.
Blimey.
So tomorrow, or whenever they do this silly thing, it'll now be dark at 4 o'clock. But it gets light. This is now before it gets worse. It's light at about 5 o'clock in the morning.
What?
And the reason for it is Scottish people, because the reason we do this is because at this time of year up in Scotland, and they've got such shorter days. They actually need more light in the morning so their kids can get to school in the light.
You can either go to school in the light or come back from school in the light, not both.
Well, this is it, but sadly, that I can understand it. But the thing is, this is my whole point. They're so keen to get independence. I mean, I'm pretty much against it. But if they want to do it, the only advantage I can see, the one and only advantage, is we can go in a different time zone and just keep our summertime all year round.
I think, we should definitely do that. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the European Union was thinking about doing it, and then the invisible menace from China put the kibosh on all other considerations, didn't it?
I don't really know, mate.
Well, I think so. Yeah.
I think we live in a mad world, don't we? Really?
It's a mad world. Yes, no doubt.
It is.
I'm just looking at the actual real life facts on this issue, and sun up is at 8:15 in Glasgow, and sundown is at 4:45. So it's going to be at 4:45 as of Sunday, and it's going to get light. Going to get light at 7:16, which is which is a time that nobody can do anything with. What can you do with that apart from milk cows?
Well, yeah.
Cows don't know what time it is. They don't care.
the Scottish aren't even up at that point, most of them, are they? You know what I mean?
Well, let's not
But
start picking a fight.
No, my ancestors are Scottish.
Oh,
My name's
well, that's
Scottish. I've
okay
only
then.
been here.
Oh, sure.
No, but I'm from Yorkshire, mate, and I'm proud to be English, and I love Scotland and all that stuff. But like I said, my only reason for them to leave, because I'm quite pro-union and all that stuff, you know. But my only real reason why I quite like them to leave is I get me bloody hour back.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think.
So much
I don't think the one will lead to the other. To actually make a change to the clocks would require a government acting in the interest of the people rather than acting in their own personal short-term interests by avoiding negative headlines in the right-wing press, who will be searching around for some story that they can blame on the clocks change. There'll be front-page headlines about some traffic accident that was caused by the darkness being at the wrong end of the day, and therefore these particular deaths are on you, Boris Johnson, or the Conservative government, or whoever voted it through. That's what I mean. I don't know that it's a fact, but it doesn't stop it from being true. Thanks a lot, Paul. Greenford. Hello, Paul.
Hello, yeah. I think, hello, Governor. But, it's the mother of all parliaments. And, in the political textbooks, born to rule the Conservative Party. But on the other hand, the Guardian newspaper, maybe the first time round, Sleaze, World in Action. But,
Okay, good call, Paul. Was that scripted, or did you just bring that up off the top of your head? Finchley. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello. How you doing, Nick?
Good, thanks.
Is this leading Britain's conversation, LBC?
Okay.
Yeah, because the conversations normally involve people having, speaking with each other, whereas you just spoke. You just let that guy say something, and you didn't let him speak again. So I hope you'll let me speak again when I say what I want to say, if that's okay with you.
Well, if you say what you want to say, then what's the point of speaking again? If you have a thought on your mind that you want to impart, then impart it and then move on. Or do you want to, pitch a tent here and take over the show?
No, I'd like to have a conversation with you, so I say something, you say something back.
But if I don't want
to
have a conversation with you, see, it's a two-way thing. You can't just show up somewhere and demand to have a conversation with someone. You have to ingratiate yourself with that person for them to want to have a conversation with you.
Well, let's see if you'd like to have a conversation with me. I'll assert my assertion and see where we go.
Right.
So, Dominic,
I have to say, not so far, but you can make up lost ground. Go ahead.
Right. Thank you. You said if 137 people died of anything else, it would be front page news. We wouldn't talk about anything else. That's what you said.
157 people died of one thing on one day. Yeah.
So, okay, fine. So that's just under 10% of the number of people that normally die on any single day.
Not of just one thing, though.
Yes, well, actually, you probably find that you probably have maybe when there's really bad
hang on a
flu.
minute. So you're making it up now. You probably will find that probably.
No, I'm not making it up.
Well, you just said you probably will find that, which means that you don't know, so you are making it up.
I'll tell you what, Nick. I'll tell you what. I'll go and do some research.
Excellent. Okay, full report on my desk first thing in the morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
This show is going super fantastically well so far. A lot of very angry people out there. Portsmouth. Hello, Pete.
Hey, Nick.
Pete.
Yes, regarding the people gluing themselves to the roads.
Yeah.
We don't emit so much CO2 as China.
No.
So why don't the people in China glue themselves to the roads? Do you know why? Because they're going to get squashed.
They get shot. Yeah.
Squashed, shot, crushed by tanks, whatever.
So is that
we produce probably 2% of what China does.
Yeah.
So why don't they go over there?
Well, you know why. You've said already.
Well, I just said I just said that. Sorry, it's stupid repeating myself. Yeah,
but that argument is a bit like saying you'll stand in the street and you'll just throw whatever rubbish that you have on you on the road because somebody else has done that before you. and if you don't throw it on the road, then it's not going to make any difference. But that's just a bizarre frame of mind, isn't it? People don't normally think like that. I mean, I've never done that. Just because I'm standing in a road that has rubbish in it doesn't mean to say that I then just throw my rubbish into the street or out of the car window. Just because somebody else is doing a bad thing doesn't mean to say that you should too, or not care. I don't really get that. It seems like a cop-out, that argument that, oh, well, not if we, act more responsibly, then there's always China or India or Russia or whoever it might be, or America, who are still, going along that same wicked route. Everything has to be perfect before we make an effort. I don't really get that as an argument, but thanks, Pete. Abbey Wood. Hello, Pete.
Hi, Nick. I would really like to address the elephant in the room, which is the new study that comes from Israel, stating that natural immunity is 13 times far superior than the immunity that you get from the vaccine. Okay, I work for the NHS, and if they force that vaccine on me, I will leave my job, and many of us will leave our jobs because we don't need the vaccine, because we've already had COVID. We have the antibodies. The NHS is already understaffed. Why would you do this to us? We have taken care of you, of everyone who has had COVID. We've been there to take care of you. You force the vaccine on us when we don't need the vaccine. Please,
Pete,
look at the new study.
Okay, but did that study not also show that a combination of an immune response to catching the virus added to the vaccine was the best protection of all?
Well, yes, it did. The study showed that if you have natural immunity and you're vaccinated, that your immune system is even stronger. But the study showed that if you haven't been vaccinated and you have natural immunity, your natural immunity is way stronger than the synthetic immunity that you get from the vaccine.
Right.
Okay, so I have not had the vaccine, but I have had COVID. I have the antibodies. I do not need the vaccine, and it's not fair to force the vaccine upon me, where science has shown that I don't need it, and I have even better protection than someone who has got the vaccine, because a vaccinated person is only, if you're lucky, you get 6 months protection. But some people only have a week or a couple of weeks protection. And then it weans. That's why we're having the boosters, because the vaccine is not giving us enough protection where natural immunity does.
Okay, Pete, so if this does come into law and all NHS workers are forced to get the jab or leave their jobs, what will you do?
Look, I will leave my job because it's not morally correct to force me to have a medical procedure that I do not need or consent to. And I'm not the only one. There are doctors, there are nurses, there are many highly educated people that do not want to be forced in to a vaccine that they do not need to get. It's just not morally right.
Right, okay. Henley-on-Thames. Chris.
Hello.
Yes, Chris.
What I was going to say is that thanks to global warming, the value of insulation is going down, and we don't need insulation as much now.
Don't we?
No, because the temperature's going up.
Is it?
Of course it is, because of global warming.
I'm not sure I've noticed the temperature going up round these parts.
No, it's definitely going up.
I'm not sure that's true.
I don't think we need insulation as much as we did.
We don't need insulation as much as we did. Well, that certainly is a relief.
So that's one thing. You know, the other thing I was going to just talk about briefly is electric vehicles.
And are you also an expert on electric vehicles?
Well, let me just tell you the story. I've been driving electric vehicles since 2005.
Right.
And I want to tell everybody that I finally made the transition from electric vehicles back to diesel.
Why did you do that?
Because of the lack of stress.
Lack of stress.
Exactly. So the big problem with electric vehicles is that they basically fail.
Range anxiety.
There's more than anxiety. They really do break down.
Well, cars break down all the time.
No, I know they break down, but electric vehicles break down more than petrol diesel cars.
Now, what breaks on an electric car because it ain't got no moving parts?
It's got a motor.
Yeah.
The motor has let me down several times.
Motor?
Yep, the electric motor.
On an electric vehicle?
Correct.
A motor?
Yep.
What kind of a motor is on an electric vehicle?
Well, on a motor, you've got an induction motor. You've literally got an electric motor that drives you along.
Okay.
So I've had that fail several times, probably 3 times, and the batteries have let me down on the M4 at least twice. Total failure. So basically, what the situation is, you're driving along the motorway, and as you know now, the M4, there's no hard shoulder.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a very good idea to me. But
so what do? You're going along. All of a sudden, you realise that your accelerator pedal is doing nothing for you.
Yeah.
And you're then stuck. What do? Your blood pressure is going up very rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart is beating faster and faster. You realise that you're going to end up stuck.
Yeah.
And I basically just managed to crawl off at Slough, and amazingly, I got to a hotel. There's basically there's 2 hotels opposite each other. When I phoned up the AA, they said to me, which hotel are you opposite, the Copthorne or the Ice? Like this is a regular place to break down.
That doesn't sound very likely, though. I mean, a regular place to break down. What is it, like the Bermuda Triangle in Slough?
I'm telling you, you can just about make it to that hotel.
Right.
If you're going to break down on the M4. So actually, there were a lot of oil stains on the road from other vehicles that have broke down previously.
Well, it sounds like you're going backwards. You're not actually helping humanity. You're going in reverse, Chris.
The message I'm telling you really is that I'm not at all happy about the reliability of electric vehicles. They are. It's a relief to go back to diesel.
Right. Okay.
It's a sorry story, but it's true. The diesel is a big relief to me. There's no range anxiety.
Yeah.
And how many miles can you do on a tank of diesel?
6.
Incorrect. 1,000.
1,000.
You can do 1,000 miles on a tank of diesel.
Yeah, I very much doubt that. If you're being pulled by another car, you could do 1,000 miles, but you can't do 1,000 miles on a full tank of diesel.
No, hang on a second. I recently did a trip from Rickmansworth up to Little Birmingham, then across to Manchester and back to Rickmansworth, which is like a giant triangle.
Right, not 1,000. Not 1,000 miles though.
That's no, it's 600 miles, and that was half a tank of fuel.
Chris, you can't do 1,000 miles on a tank of fuel. I don't care what you're driving. You can't.
So what can you do on a tank of fuel?
I don't know. It depends on what kind of car it is and how you drive it. You can't do 1,000 miles on a tank of fuel. You just can't. But anyway, thanks for not caring about the environment. Cheers, Chris. Uxbridge, Louis.
Oh, hello, Nick. I've just had a sausage roll and Houses of Parliament sauce. I'm currently in Richmond, listening to Eric Clapton laid out upon the Thames. Rock and roll! I'm having a absolutely fantastic time. But, I have to say this, the current government is an absolute shambles. If they had any sense of decorum, they would have sorted out the Twickenham A320 Chertsey roundabout today, which was absolutely chock-a-block.
Right.
From one end to the other.
Was it?
I've had enough of the Tories now.
Right.
I'm not going to be a Lib Dem supporter. I might become apolitical. I've had enough of all of it. I've had enough.
Right, because of the what road was that again?
The A320 Twickenham High Road from St Margaret's up towards Chertsey Road at Witton and Twickenham, St Margaret's roundabout, something like that. I don't know.
It's an absolute disgrace.
It's an absolute disgrace indeed.
Yeah. So what have you got to say about that then, Bodge? He'll get back to you. Well spotted there, Louis. Let's get our priorities straight. Hampton. Hello, Michael.
Right.
Michael.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, I think the humane bit would be that we build more boats, and when we see the people in these boats to protect them, we put them in our motor launches that are provided by the Royal Navy and take them back to France and say, you're illegals, you can't come in.
Yes, but I've just said that you can't take them back to France.
Why not? Why not?
Well, why should the French have them?
Well, why should we have them?
If the situation was reversed and...
No, it isn't.
No, if the situation was reversed and immigrants in their thousands were camping out in Dover with a view to getting into France, then what would your opinion be?
Look, there's 100,000 people coming unvaccinated with a possible variation to the virus that's already there. You can't allow that. So you've got to do it on that humane basis from the indigenous population in this country.
No, Michael, if the situation was reversed and immigrants were lining up in Dover, desperate to get to France, would you be in favour of stopping them here? That's
nonsense. It isn't happening.
I'm asking you to imagine the reverse of the situation. That's not too hard, surely.
Hypothetical rubbish.
It's not hypothetical. Well, it is hypothetical, but it's a perfectly reasonable question. You're saying that why should we take these people from France? France should stop them there. I'm saying if the situation was reversed, would you also be of that opinion, that we should stop immigrants from leaving to go to France?
Do you know the difference between legal and illegal?
Yeah, legal is against the law and illegal is a sick bird. Clyde Bank. Hello, Vincent.
Hello.
Vincent.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Vincent.
I'm calling because I disagree.
Vincent, could you speak more directly into the phone?
Can you hear me better now?
No.
Oh, very funny. I'm calling because I disagree with Brexit's because of the rise of food prices and the shortage of gas.
Yeah.
And if you let me, I'll tell you
well,
what
I don't think... I've never said that it was the cause of the shortage of gas, or really the increase in food prices.
So what do
Although
you think?
it's a bit in there. I mean, Brexit is an element in everything that ails us, particularly if it does not ail any other country.
So what do you think is the cause of the rise of food prices and the shortage of gas then?
Well, the two are sort of connected, but not. The one does not lead to the other. The one does not cause the other 100%. They're complicated. I mean, the problem with gas is, as you know, and you don't need me to explain it, Vlad the Insaner is being mean to us. No! So there's that, and there's also the ruptured line that comes between France and us, and the stupid decision by this government to allow companies or one company in particular, to close our gas storage facility, the Rough storage facility. That's ROUGH.
There was also a couple of stupid decisions made in the United States recently too, wasn't there?
The United States?
Yeah. When Joe Biden did stop drilling on federal lands and he did stop the construction of pipelines that led to a fall in gas. And,
well, we don't get gas from the US.
No, we don't, but gas from the US is sold globally. So if there's a shortage of gas coming from the United States, therefore more gas needs to be pumped by OPEC or Russia or other places to meet that shortfall.
Right, but in America, but the supply of gas in America doesn't really affect us. I mean, where does America send gas to?
As the prices of gas went up globally.
Yeah.
What about the price of a barrel of oil as it went up?
Well, that doesn't really have anything to do with Brexit either.
Yeah, none of it has anything to do with Brexit, but you have brought up Brexit.
Yeah, but not in relation to gas prices or oil prices.
You did bring up the subject of Brexit.
Yeah, of course I did, but I didn't say that it was causing gas prices to go up. One of the reasons that gas prices have gone up, one of the reasons that we are more at risk than any other country, certainly in Europe, probably any other major economy in the world, is because we only have 5 days reserve supply. Germany has 3 months. The whole of Europe has enough gas in reserve to last it through winter. We don't even have enough gas in reserve to last it through the week.
But what has that got to do with Brexit?
Zero. I never said it had anything to do with Brexit.
Thank you. So it's got nothing to do with Brexit. Now, what about food? The rising cost of food.
Well,
so what I think is causing the rise in poultry prices and beef and etc. is the fact that you're seeing all across the Western world and United States and Britain the culling of beef and poultry and pork.
No, there's no other country is culling beef and pork. No other country no other country is putting pigs in a pile and setting fire to them.
The United States is killing large numbers of livestock all across that country.
I very much doubt it.
They are, and if you're doing that, what's that going to do with the supply of food? What's that going to do with the cost of food? It's going to cause the cost of food to increase.
Well, is this called just because you want me to... What's the purpose of this call?
Well, I think it's more nuanced than blaming the government or blaming Brexit. I think this is more of a global issue, and I think it's got more to do with meeting CO2 arguments. I think that's the reason why we're culling animals and why...
Wait a minute, we're culling animals because we're meeting CO2 arguments. What are you talking about? We're culling animals because we don't have the workers in abattoirs and butchers to carve them into food.
They're culling and see all these issues that we're experiencing in the United Kingdom now. They're experiencing the same issues right now in the United States. The exact same supply chain issues. In fact, inflation in the United States has went up 6% in the last 12 months. All these same issues they're experiencing, and they're not experiencing Brexit. So this is a more global issue.
Well, why aren't they experiencing it in Europe then?
They are experiencing a lot of these issues in Europe, just not as much as they don't have the same supply chain issues as we do and the United States does. And you could say the EU has a different system in that, like, in terms of gas.
The EU has a different system of killing animals than we do.
No, the EU, not of killing animals. The EU has a different system, and that's enabling them to, say, get gas from Russia.
No, you're changing the subject. Culling animals, because we don't have the workers who've left, and because we're yelling at them to get out of our country for 5 years, and just because they wanted to be mean to us, they said, "Oh, all right, then we'll go."
I disagree that it's got to do with that. I think
of course it is. They're saying, the farmers are saying that they don't have the abattoir workers and the butchers to turn the pigs into food. Farmers are saying that. That's why they're killing the animals.
Is there a rise in costs of food and other products across the board in the United Kingdom now, outside of poultry?
Again, you're changing the subject. You said that the reason that I'm kind of lost.
The reason that you're seeing the rise in prices of poultry and pork, etc., is due to farmers culling the livestock. That's the reason.
No, it isn't. The farmers are culling the... Well, okay, if that's the case, but why are the farmers culling the livestock? Because of Brexit? It's not. Because they don't have the workers to turn a pig into food. That's the reason.
Okay, what I would like you to do is check what's happening in North America.
I'm looking at it right now. And the American meat supply chain has been hit by the closure of slaughterhouses due to COVID-19 infection rates among workers. 30 to 40 plants have closed. So the reason that they're doing it in America is the same kind of reason that we're doing it here. They don't have the slaughterhouse capacity to turn pigs into food. So they're having to kill the animals because they can't send them to the slaughterhouses, because the slaughterhouses are shut because Donald Trump screwed up the response to COVID. In this country, we can't send them to slaughterhouses because the people that used to work in those slaughterhouses have gone back to Europe. Brexit.
So your argument is that because people have left the United Kingdom due to Brexit,
yes,
we need to cull our animals, and you do agree that the culling of animals has contributed to the rise in food costs. You do agree with me there, don't you?
Well, I'm not sure that the one necessarily leads to the other, because we haven't culled a lot of animals yet. I mean, the mass cull hasn't started. The farmers are saying that they're going to have to. They're trying to hold off as long as they can, because why throw livestock away? They won't get any money for it.
So you really actually believe this is just coincidental, that this is happening through North America, the United Kingdom, and it's all separate? We've just got these wee issues with, what did you say it was in the United States?
The COVID-19 infection rates among workers have forced slaughterhouses to close down. They've closed 30 to 40 plants, which means that the highly consolidated US system of beef and pork slaughtering capacity has been cut by about 40%. That's the reason that they are killing animals in America, is because they can't send them to the slaughterhouses, because the slaughterhouses have closed because of COVID. In this country, the slaughterhouses can't take animals because the workers that used to work in them have left to go back to Europe because of Brexit.
Do you know what I see slaughterhouses closing, right? I see animals getting culled, and this is going to cause food prices to go up. And then I see in Western countries, specifically mostly the United States...
You said the food prices had gone up because of this, and now they will go up in the future. Which is it?
They have gone up. They have gone up.
Yes, but it's not because of this. That hasn't gone through the system yet. We're going round in a tight circle here, Vincent. There aren't any similar problems in Germany and France and Belgium. They are having a problem in America because of their screwed up response to the COVID virus. But that's not... I mean, we had a screwed up response to the COVID virus, the worst health response in history. I think the committee report came out this week. But the reason that we are on the verge of killing thousands and thousands of animals in giant pyres is because the workers aren't there to turn them into food anymore. Because after 5 years of us yelling at them to get out of our country, they did. Abbey Wood. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, it's all just a big con, and all it's going to do is persecute the small business owners, you know, and it's the small business owners that employ these so-called people who can't breathe any fresh air, which is a complete lie, because hundreds of years ago, when all the Londoners were making fires in their houses, the air was way worse then. And there was no people dropping down dead from...
That's actually not true, Paul. I mean, the pea supers were killing large numbers of people.
Okay. Well, what's the solution is to persecute the small business owner.
I'm sure that's not his intention. It may be an unintended consequence. It's not helping, I'm sure. But, the stated aim is to clean up London's air, which... absolutely, definitely needed to be done. I don't know what the evidence is that it has worked up to this point, but, if we have fewer cars, fewer belching old cars and vans and so on, I mean, that's got to be a good thing. I'm just not convinced that the stick approach is the best. There doesn't seem to be any carrot here. The only carrot is the potential in the future that the air that you breathe will be better. This scheme that Coventry has, I mean, okay, it might cost a lot of money, but to get the air clean is going to cost a lot of money regardless. But I bet that there's a vast number of people who would snatch £3,000 out of the hands of government in exchange for their old cars. I know I would. You could have it right now in exchange for £3,000 in travel vouchers that I could spend on buses and trams and trains and taxis. This is what Coventry are doing. They've got a limited scheme. It's a small-scale pilot, £1 million in government funding, and that's what they're doing. The plan is to take 250 cars off the road of Coventry. And if it works, if it's a great success, why not roll it out to the rest of the country? Notting Hill. Nigel.
Hi, Nick. I must say I really liked your question and answers with Ellie Cannon, the male columnist, the unbiasedness and the way you actually questioned her. But the answers what you were given beggars belief, because there is... She said something which was really, really heart-rending, because she said,
everything is a risk. There's nothing in life which is zero risk. But having a baby or having a child and having children is a risk for parents and grandparents like myself. But the fact is, the yellow card scheme which they gave out and the Parliament spoke about the other day was talking about the millions of people who's been injured by double vaccination.
The yellow card scheme.
Which is very scary.
What is the yellow card scheme?
Well, it's what they report on the. I'm not sure whether it's called the yellow card scheme, but it's in Parliament where they're reporting and they're having readings on the dangers of being vaccinated and the causes of the amount of deaths which happen, the 1 million serious illnesses, the blood clots which is happening, the heart palpitations on the elderly.
I'm not sure that any of that's true. Where are you getting all that from?
There was a third reading in the Houses of Parliament last week.
Of what?
Of the dangers of vaccination, which is not being shared with the public, and they're saying that the Parliament should be made aware of the dangers of the double vaccinations. You've got the pandemic. The WHO are very concerned right now in Israel for double vaccinated people, where 95% of the double vaccinated people in Israel are double vaccinated people. They're passing it on to each other, and the variants are growing inside these people.
The double vaccinated people are the double vaccinated people. I don't know what that means.
No. The double vaccinated people are passing on the COVID illness to each other. And 95% of the people in hospital are double vaccinated people. That's a fact.
Well, I'm not sure it is, actually, but nobody's said that getting a vaccination does not mean that you can't pass it on. The vaccination is surely to prevent you becoming seriously ill if you do get it. It doesn't completely prevent you getting the virus, catching the virus, and nor does it completely prevent you from passing it on. I think it significantly reduces the amount of the seriousness of the illness should you get it, and it also reduces the amount of the virus that you can pass on to other people. But I think you are reading those two things and coming to the wrong conclusion. Let's have a call in Wapping. Why not? Paul.
Oh, good evening. Yeah, I mean, if any of these people out there have called you in tonight about, the political scene, think this is a democracy, well, they're deluded. They're either blind or deluded, because it's been like that for years. It don't matter who you put in. It's like if you chuck Boris Johnson out now. I know he's useless. If you chuck Boris Johnson out now and put somebody else in, it'd be bad, just or worse.
Yeah, be the
and then if you put the other geezer in, if you put the other geezer in, the socialist sir, who's took the knighthood, and he's a Marxist.
Well, not really.
Which he should give the honour back, because he, how are you a left winger or a Marxist and taking a knighthood?
Right, I don't think
that's another big scam.
I don't think he's a Marxist, but I'm sure
he's a socialist. Well, socialist Marxism, Trotskyism was all the bloody same.
I'm not even sure that that's true, and I don't think he's a socialist either.
It is, because they're no better. I mean, when you've got this lot who are all rich boys taking all the pie, and the other lot are threatening to throw acid in people's faces and calling people scum. So, what?
Okay. It's an interesting thought. Wow, it's an education, this show, every now and again, ain't it?
No.
Not really. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with anything that bloke just said, but at least he said it vociferously and really, really loudly. It's like politics P101, ain't it? Not really. Leighton, Charlie.
Hello, Nick.
Charlie.
Good morning. Look, just trying to collect my thoughts here. This is a very complicated situation and you're just trying to frame it purely about Brexit.
No, I'm just pointing out that it is rather ironic that Brexit has made the situation worse, not better, as was advertised.
But are you actually trying to put across any other perspective apart from to just blame it on Brexit? I've not really heard you say that.
I'm not blaming it on Brexit.
Briefly.
I'm saying that Brexit has made it worse in opposition to what was advertised.
Right, Nick, well, there's been a lot going on the last couple of years. You know, right now, obviously, pandemic, etc. You hear about what's going on in Belarus and Poland. Things have moved on. Things are happening. The situation is fluid. It's not purely about Brexit.
I'm not saying it is. Are you listening to me?
I am listening to you. That's why I'm calling in. And I hope some other people might call in and actually make the same point. Because you're not being objective. Simple.
You are not, even now, I've said it like 3 or 4 times and you're still not listening to me. I'm not saying that the situation is caused by Brexit. I'm saying it has been made worse by Brexit. It is more difficult to send people back because of Brexit, and people who are in want of coming here are saying that because of Brexit, it has made travel from France to here easier.
Right, let's just roll back slightly then, yeah? The basic law about the situation of asylum seekers is that they should claim asylum in the first safe country.
That's not the law.
Sorry, what is it then?
You don't have to claim asylum in the... You're talking about the Dublin Agreement. They don't have to claim asylum in the first country that they arrive in. That's not the law.
Well, they should be. They should actually be able to claim asylum in the first country, that safe country they get to. That is, I'm pretty sure that is the law.
But people keep repeating that as the law, but it's a misunderstanding of that agreement. That is not the law. You don't have to claim asylum in the first country that you arrive in.
What's the law then?
It's just that you don't have to claim asylum in the first country that you arrive in.
Okay, you can carry on to a country of a choice.
Essentially.
Okay, well, I hope someone clarifies that with you someday, yeah? But just to say, the situation is very complicated. Now, at the end of the day, as you said, you did say a few minutes ago, you can't really expect Britain to push them back into the sea, almost like the scenario that's happening in Belarus and Poland right now. You can't really, that's not the right thing to do. So, to some extent, this is a very complicated problem.
You keep saying that, but give us an answer. What's your answer? What's your answer to the problem?
I'm trying to tell you, I don't have an answer. You seem to have answers. I don't necessarily have an answer. I'm not necessarily going to blame it on the government because I'm sure they want to do something about it.
Well, they say that they do, but if they did, then they would have done. Mile End. Hello, Andy.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Glad to be on the show tonight. My condolences go out to the family of David. You know, it's a sad loss. But I've been listening to the show the last couple of days, you know, different presenters. And there was one thing that hit me and stood out in my mind is that we've got apparently 20,000 potential terrorists in this country, you know, from all walks of life. Why is it we can't deal with it directly and, I don't know, get these people out of our society? Whatever means we must take, surely that's a direct approach.
But that's like saying we have 20,000 potential thieves. Let's lock them all up before they do anything.
No, let's put them on a blooming island. Years ago, we had penal colonies.
But you know that's not a possibility, don't you?
But hold on, you say it's not possible. It is possible. We allow a risk to be in our society. Okay, all right, from all walks of life.
Yeah, but Andy, you're talking about, by your own admission, you're talking about potential terrorists. You can't take people who haven't actually committed a crime and put them on an island. I mean, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, I know it's a hard one to sort of swallow, but
I mean, you might as well say, just let's line them up and execute the lot of them. I mean, that's not going to happen either.
Execution's a little bit far-fetched.
Oh, okay. Put them on an island is perfectly reasonable, though.
Well, no, I mean, look, this is a big island. We live on a big island. Surely we can build a community, all right?
A camp?
A camp, yeah. And if people are a threat, and we believe them to be a threat, then they go to a camp and they get help. Look, I mean, you say you've got people out on the streets that have got problems, mental health issues.
Yes.
There's no hospitals to cater for these people. There's no real help for these people. Now, if there were camps, let's not call them camps, but let's say hospitals, where these people could be admitted and looked after and cared for and helped, then maybe that, in the long term, will help the societies that we actually live in.
Yeah, I'm sure that many people who are on endless waiting lists to get into actual hospitals may have a finger of complaint raised in the air about the idea of that. But that's something to chew over. Thanks for that, Andy. Emma Lempstead. Hello, Charles.
Hello. Yeah, I just feel sorry for all the millionaires in the country.
Do you?
I really do.
You feel sorry for the millionaires in the country?
Yeah, because of Brexit, they can't employ so many Eastern Europeans, and they can't exploit them the way they were.
Right.
You know, and because they didn't have to pay them double time for Sunday and time and a half for Saturday, and overtime rates, and they could get them for the minimum wage. All the distribution centres and all the warehouses.
Is that what millionaires do?
That's what they do. That's what Amazon, companies like Amazon, you could name them all the warehouses, all the supermarket warehouses, they're all suffering now. They're all having to pay more money to the British worker because they can't exploit the Eastern Europeans like they were.
If only that was true, Charles, because but unfortunately there's so many vacancies in all of the positions that you've just described and many others because British workers don't want to do those jobs. If only somebody had said that before oh no, that's right, they did, over and over and over again, and they were greeted with noises like this. No! They were greeted by people yelling Ramona at them. Now, a little earlier, I spoke to royal author and commentator Robert Jobson. His next book, William at 40, is going to be published next year, and I asked Robert to explain the significance of the case involving Meghan Markle.
They're worried about their privacy as well, but the reality is this case is a very expensive one, it's a very serious one, and it's all revolving around privacy. And if the initial case, which was found in favour of Meghan and Harry, it seems to me that none of this information would have come to light had there not been the expensive appeal and the evidence of Jason Knaus, the former communications director, who, for whatever reason, wanted to tell the truth and wanted to set the record straight. This now leads to more possible revelations coming out in this case. Doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, that they're going to win the case and that Meghan and Harry will lose the case. What it means is that a lot of information has now come to light that doesn't particularly put them in a great light.
Yeah, well, there's that old phrase, if you haven't done anything wrong, then you've got nothing to be concerned about. So I still am not persuaded as to the seriousness of it.
Well, the reality is, exactly, she took the case against the newspaper. The newspaper is in a position to defend itself. And I think, in all honesty, if you've got nothing to hide and you've taken this case, then any evidence you should believe is in your favour because you want the truth to be out. It does seem, though, given that Meghan had to apologise to the court for effectively misleading the court by not giving the whole picture. I think it's quite damning in the court of public opinion. Whether or not it's good enough for the likes of Mark Walby, the Justice, and people involved in making the decisions on this, only time will tell on that. But the reality is that a lot of people think that it's a very strange move that was made, that she had to apologise to the court.
Yeah, well, she was apologising for basically having forgotten an old email because this course of court.
That's really good, though, is it? Really, I mean, let's be honest.
People forget.
If that was any other person, if that was you or I, and we'd forgotten, you'd be in danger of certainly disrespecting the court, if not holding it in contempt.
Well, yes, of course, but she's human. She may be a princess, but she's human, just like the rest of us. And this does go back 3 odd years, doesn't it? So it's not.
She's the one who brought the case, though, isn't she? I mean, she would have known and had lots of consultation with her lawyers, and it does seem to me that she didn't have the recollections because she probably didn't think that Jason Knaus would be given evidence against her. He was, after all, in her employ.
Now, you mentioned the court of public opinion. If she and he, Harry, were on trial at the court of public opinion, then the jury is in and the verdict is guilty. I mean, not particularly about this case, just about them in general. Do you think that they've been given a bit of a hard ride?
Well, they certainly think so. I think in certain instances, certainly public opinion has turned against them. Certainly the newspapers have turned against them. But a lot of it, I think, they've brought on themselves. So in this particular case, I found some of it rather sad, really. That letters were being written with the idea of pulling them at heartstrings, using terms about daddy to try to. And in the letter she wrote to her father, knowing that it would pull at heartstrings, quote unquote, and knowing that it would be leaked. All of these things, it's all rather unsavoury, I think. And I think that all the other evidence about the royal family saying, can't we just sort this out, was effectively all they were saying. I don't think they were berating or bullying Harry in any way. It just seemed that they were just saying, they were fed up with it appearing pretty much every day in the newspapers about and probably putting an end to it. I think that's probably what it came down to.
Yeah, of course, she didn't. Her position is that she didn't write the letters to her father with the intention of having them published. That's what this entire issue rests upon.
Well, that's what she says. That's what she says now. But there's Mr. Knauf's evidence seems to contradict that.
Right, but just going back to how they have been treated since they refused to live their lives to the script that had been written for them. I mean, they're just a married couple, they're grown-ups, they left the family home, and yet the ordure that's been poured on them for doing what everybody else on earth does seems extraordinary.
I don't agree with that at all. In fact, it's far from that. I mean, the fact was, if they wanted to do that, that was fine, and I think that was what was agreed. But I think to go away and to do a tell-all interview that they did, in which there was certainly inconsistencies, if not downright lies. Certainly one of them was to say that they'd got married before, with ahead of it, which the Archbishop of Canterbury, who I presume is not a liar, totally contradicted. And there was a number of inconsistencies in what they said. They were very bitter and twisted in the way they turned on the royal family. They said they'd been cut off financially, what Harry did. He had, and his father paid him £7 million over a period of time. So I think it wasn't what they did, it was probably the way they did it. But I totally agree with you. I think if they wanted a different way of life and they set about doing it, that's fine. But I think using their titles, using their royal position to make money, it's a little bit grubby, in my opinion.
Oh, come on. Using their royal position to make money. I mean, what is the royal family if it's not using its royal position to make money?
Come on. The royal family is there to serve. What are you talking about? I totally disagree with you. You obviously are a Republican. I don't agree with you at all.
Well, I'm a realist.
The royal family, you think the Queen is just there to make money? What a ridiculous thing to say.
Well, she's not there to make money, but money is poured all over the royal family, like winning the lottery every day.
I don't think so. You're clearly a Republican and you've got your point of view. I totally disagree with you, as you could disagree with me with Meghan and Harry. I think we probably might as well end it there, because, oh, come on, it's a little bit of a nonsense statement. The fact is they're using their titles, and this is a B-rated actress and an army officer. If they were linked to the royal family, their financial position would not be, nobody would particularly want to listen to them. That's the truth of it. They become stars on the back of being members of the royal family. I don't agree with you that the royal family is simply about making money.
No, I didn't say that. But your assertion was that they left in order to make money. I'm saying that the royal family don't have to go out and make money because we pour money all over them.
The back of their title is what I actually said.
Well, what does the royal family do if it doesn't utilise its title?
Okay, I'll ask you a question. If they don't want to be members of the royal family, why do they keep using their titles?
All right. Well, why does... Okay.
Well, there you go. Oh, come on. Why do they have to have royal titles if they don't like the royal family? They want out of it. I don't understand. You tell me.
Well, what difference would it make if they did or did not use their titles? Everybody on Earth... everyone on Earth knows who they are.
The institution, if they're complaining about the institution, that they don't want to be part of, why stay part of it then?
The institution is not rotten from head to toe, but there are parts of the institution, just like every other institution in the world, that could use improvement, surely.
Well, of course there is. Like LBC, there's a lot that can be improved about that. But what the nonsense thing to say? I don't understand. The fact is the royal family is not the guilty party here. The royal family's not done anything particularly wrong. This couple have decided that they want to attack the royal family. And Harry's writing a tell-all book. They've also been on an Oprah Winfrey programme that, frankly, called itself journalism, but there was certainly no way that the questions were answered. They were not actually quizzed about their answers, because if they had been, most of it would have been proven to be nonsense.
Well, it was Oprah Winfrey, and we know what we're going to get with Oprah Winfrey.
Well, it was PR puff.
Well, that's Oprah Winfrey.
Well, therefore, that's why they went on it.
Of course. I mean, were you expecting them to be cross-examined as though in a court? It's Oprah.
The fact is, Meghan Markle and Harry have taken a court action against the newspaper. They're suggesting the newspaper was lying. They're the ones who already had to apologise.
And our conversation came to a loud and abrupt end shortly after that. We'll spare you that part of the tape. Fair to say that we disagreed on pretty much anything. It just seems to me that this country has decided that Meghan Markle is Cruella de Vil, and she has taken our puppy away from us. Poor Harry. He doesn't know what he's doing. And that it just seems to be underlined every day. I mean, the media, I can't remember anybody outside of Jeremy Corbyn that the media have decided is a worse person than Meghan Markle. I mean, can you think of anybody that has had such bad press? I mean, for crying out loud, all they wanted to do was live their own life. And of course they're going to have to make money. I mean, he and her are the most famous couple in the world. If you are that famous, you're going to have to insulate yourself from the public. And that costs a lot. Security. Just ask the royal family how much security costs. And they won't be able to tell you because we pay for it. Hundreds of millions of pounds a year. Just whatever it costs. It just does seem... it seems like the last hurrah of the royal family apologists and fans and hem sniffers to me. They see the expiry date of the royal family heading towards them, and they're just flailing around because they thought that Hazza and Sparkles were going to be the future. They had the sparkle, the stardust, in order to keep that brand going. And they didn't want to play that game. Good for them. And so what we're left with is a rather dull lot. What's really bizarre is that people in this country don't even want Charles to be the next monarch. As though it's some sort of pick and mix that you can just choose who you have next. That's not how it works. We're not really a democracy. Not really. I mean, the House of Lords, 800 or so, for life, forever, unelected bureaucrats. Our head of state is either chosen by luck or by an invisible space wizard, depending on your point of view. It just seems bizarre that we're still doing that in 2021. A poll was taken, not just one, over many months, over many years. Which person would you like to see sitting on the throne after the Queen? Charles isn't people's number one choice. I mean, doesn't that tell you everything that you need to know about this sort of bizarre relationship we have with that family? It's a monarchy. You don't get to choose, but people think that they perhaps should have that choice. Weird.
Absolutely cuckoo. And when we see your error, then you can flee in terror like everybody else does. I only tell you this cause I'm easy to get rid of, but not if you fall in love. And now that I'm on the neck, and if you make a mistake, my heart will certainly break. I'll have to jump in a lake, and all my friends will blame you. There's no telling what they'll do. It's only fair to tell you I'm absolutely cuckoo. It's only fair to tell you I'm absolutely cuckoo.